better. So the proposition tonight is that the Democrats are justified in expanding the Supreme Court. We got Pisco on the affirmative here, and then Mr. Mullally taking the, I got it that time.
Nice.
Taking the stance against. So we're going to get right into it with 2 5-minute openings, one each here. And since Pisco's got the affirmative, he'll be going first. And we're going to jump right into it. Before we do, though, I do want to just ask you guys, like the video, subscribe if you're not. And then we do have tickets for DebateCon 8 in July coming up. It's our flagship debate conference, and they are in the description. Awesome, guys. Appreciate you guys. And we're going to start as soon as you start talking.
All right, folks. Yeah, I'm in favor of expanding the Supreme Court exclusively by Democrats, I would like to add. And I want to start by quoting Senator Mitch McConnell in the aftermath of Antonin Scalia's death in 2016. This is a quote. "We know the Democrats. If the shoe were on the other foot, they would not be confirming a Republican's presidential nomination for the Supreme Court in the middle of a presidential election year. We think the American people ought to decide this. We're not going to move on this nomination. We're not going to have hearings. We're not going to have votes on it." In 2016, Mitch McConnell took the decision to categorically reject all nominations that Obama was going to put through many, many months before the election. And this was a form of court packing. And it's a form of court packing which merits a response. Now, I've come to this debate with a formally valid argument. And that means if the premises of this argument are true, the conclusion that the Democrats ought to do court expansion just follows. So I want to take you guys through it. And hopefully you guys can read it. If not, I'll just try to make this a bit bigger. I can't do that. Okay. So the first premise, I think, is something that's easily agreeable to. It's just the notion that in the cases in which reciprocal court packing will not lead to a cascade of consequences, will not result in a bunch of huge parade of horribles that people are disclaiming, and in which there actually has been an injury done, some court packing done, that in those cases, it's justified for the injured party to retaliate. And of course, it's natural to do so too. The first, or I should say the second premise of the argument is that, in fact, there was injurious partisan court packing done. This, I think, is obvious. If you go back to 2016, you see what Mitch McConnell did, and it was categorically an attempt with an irregular process in violation of a constitutional norm to change the composition of the court, not just wait for vacancies that emerge in the ordinary course of events, but to fundamentally violate a constitutional norm for the purposes affecting the partisan balance of the court. That should be an easy premise to agree to. There's no effective way to reverse this injury other than through court packing, right? There's some things that you could do to try to remedy this injury. Potentially the Republicans could, if they wanted to, just let the Democrats nominate a nominee. The next time one comes up, the justice could resign in recognition for what happened. There could be a neutral constitutional amendment that's presented, but none of those are effective and none of those are likely to occur. And therefore, there's no effective way to reverse the injury without a court expansion in kind. The proposed reciprocal court packing doesn't overshoot beyond mild deterrence. I'm not advocating for us to do 100-person court pack of the Supreme Court. We're just trying to remedy the injury that was done to the Democrats in 2016 and to respond in kind the way that Mitch McConnell suggested would be done, through a legal mechanism, through an authorized mechanism. So I think that's, whatever you want to dial in on your notion of proportionality here, if you accept even just one seat, I think you're definitionally in favor of court expansion. And so we can quibble about how much would constitute mild deterrence, but as long as you agree that there was at least one seat that could be rectified, and I think honestly mathematically it's two, if not more, then I think that you should be in favor of that proportionality premise. And then finally, there's no reason to expect a severe consequence cascade. Every time we have these debates, it seems like people are trying to generate a list of things that will occur without a doubt, and they relate to the rule of law, just breaking down fundamentally. They relate to this oscillation between both parties that creates some severe consequence. But what is the actual empirical basis to believe that that's going to occur? Where are the case studies that show that if this occurs, if there is a reciprocal court expansion, that what happens is you break down the rule of law? If you go back into our history, you'll see that there was not just court expansions of the federal Supreme Court for partisan reasons, there were court expansions of state Supreme Court courts, highest courts of last resort in states as recently as this year in Utah. Is the rule of law breaking down in Utah? Is the rule of law over in Georgia or in Arizona, where they were, in my view, explicitly partisan court packs? No. And so I actually think my opposition has a case to show that this is false if he's going to say that this is like necessarily bad, if he's going to take anything other than an agnostic position. But I think that the evidence is such that this will increase the structural stability of the United States. We shouldn't expect to see a breakdown of the rule of law or an increased tendency of the executive to disobey court orders. And so I think basically you're likely to see a lot of positive outcomes. And certainly in terms of the legitimacy of the court in the public's eyes, I think will be vastly improved if our court starts doing more popular things, because that's the vision of legitimacy the population cares about.
All righty. Thank you for that 5-minute opening. And we're going to turn it over to Mr. Ryan here. Whenever you start talking, I'll hit the timer.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Ryan Mullally. I'm an attorney. I've litigated at every level of the U.S. legal system, up to and including the U.S. Supreme Court. And I'm here today to open your eyes to a grave threat to our liberty, our Constitution, and yes, the rule of law. Prominent Democrats are now openly arguing for a set of policies, including the most radical and unprecedented court packing in the history of the country, adding 4 justices to the U.S. Supreme Court on a purely partisan basis. They do it with a smile on their face, cloaking themselves in false virtue and hoping you will praise them for their tyranny. Pisco has the unenviable task of trying to defend these tyrannical proposals. To do so, he's selected a classic lawyer's trick: atomize the issue, drown you in banality and unnecessary complexity, and paint a thin veneer of logic over the unjustifiable. In other words, Pisco's job tonight is to obfuscate the Democrats' tyrannical plans. My job is to reveal them. And you don't need to be a lawyer. You don't need a 6-premise argument to understand the grave threat to your liberty extremists like Pisco pose. He is arguing that it's fine, even justified, for the Democrats to expand the court, which has been 9 justices since the Civil War era, and do so in the most radical and unprecedented way in our history. Why? Because they don't like the current Supreme Court. They don't like how they rule, and they want to get their way. That's why. It's that simple. So how do the Democrats plan to alter our Constitution, vitiate the independence of our highest court, entrench their own power? What's their plan? Well, they've told you. They said it publicly. First, they want to add 4 or more, some of them have said more, justices to the court, likely young, left-leaning justices who will serve for decades and enable the Democrats' agenda for the next 50 years. But that's not enough for them, by the way. That's just the appetizer. They also want to make D.C. and Puerto Rico states, because that would give the Democrats 4 extra seats in the Senate, locking out Republicans. Now, you might be asking yourself, is Senate packing part of court packing? How are those related? They go hand in glove. Why? Because of what's called the ratchet effect. As Justice Breyer, a noted liberal Supreme Court justice, once explained when talking about court packing, quote, "What goes around comes around. And if the Democrats can do it, the Republicans can do it." So after the Democrats pack the court to 13 justices, the next Republican administration would have the chance to reciprocate in kind. And they would. Maybe they'll go to 19. Maybe they'll go to 20. But then it's the Democrats' turn again, and they'll go to 30, 40, 50, 60. And pretty soon, the concept of the rule of law, the concept of an enduring constitution is a joke. It's a sad memory. So but the Democrats know this. They know this is a risk. So what are they going to do about it? How can they have their cake and eat it too? They pack the Senate, because if the Republicans can never get back in power in the Senate, they can never repack the Supreme Court. That's why they want to make D.C. and Puerto Rico states. Tyranny cloaked in virtue. But even that's not enough. They want to create an enforceable code of ethics for Supreme Court justices so they can discipline the justices that they don't like. But don't worry, Pisco's been very clear that he would only favor using such an ethical code, and I'll quote him, against the conservative justices that supposedly lied during their nomination hearings, though they did no such thing. Every statement Pisco makes tonight is an admission. Every single one. And here's why. It's so obvious. Pisco said his argument is about political self-defense. That's what he said. Well, I don't know about you, But I feel pretty threatened by court packing, Senate packing, infiltrating the court, taking away their independence. I feel pretty threatened.
1 minute.
Are the Republicans justified in packing the court? Are they justified in self-defense? They have all the institutional power right now. They could pack the court tomorrow. They could put 4 frothing at the mouth conservatives on the court. Are they justified in self-defense? Pisco says no. He said it is opening. It's only for the Dems. He won't bite that bullet. And that's all you need to know to reject Pisco's self-defense argument. It's classic partisanship, rule for thee, not for me. It's a false argument meant to obfuscate and insane wash tyranny. You ought reject everything Pisco says unless he's willing to condemn the Democrats' proposals in full. But even if that's enough to decide the debate, that's enough. But even if it weren't, his argument is nonsense. It's a clunky syllogism, which is on its face a disaster. It's internally contradictory and self-defeating. The premises are false. It relies on undefined terms, which appear to have proprietary and non-standard definitions. And it is all obvious. Pisco knows it, or at least he should.
All right.
So why is he saying it? Sorry. To obfuscate tyranny. That's what he's here tonight to do. And I'm here to reveal it. We'll have some fun tonight.
Awesome. Yeah, you didn't really go over too much. I was just making sure you knew that was 5. Awesome. We're gonna get into the open dialogue. We got 60 minutes hitting on the clock here. And since Ryan just went, we'll go ahead and let Pisco take it over for opening it up for his affirmative position. And
sure. And so this is just 60 minutes back and forth, right?
I'll try not to interrupt too much unless there's someone severely over talking the other. But generally, I'm sure you guys know how to be respectful here and let each other talk. So go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought a lot of what Ryan just said is like bluster and non-relevant stuff. I have a logically valid argument, and I'd like to know which premise that you're unconvinced by.
Okay, Pisco, let's dive into it. First of all, can you explain to the audience what logically valid means and it doesn't mean? Because I think that's confusing for a lot of people.
Okay, I mean, I think I already did. If the premises are true, then the conclusion follows.
Okay, so your assertion is that this is a logically valid argument.
Yeah.
Okay, and it just means that it doesn't mean that the premises are true. It doesn't mean that the argument's a good argument.
But I don't know what you mean by good. You mean sound?
Yeah, sound. Fine.
Yes, sound. Yeah. So like an argument is sound if the conclusion follows from the premises necessarily, and the premises are all true. And I take the premises here to all be true. I'm just asking which of these premises you take issue with.
I take issue with a bunch of them, but but in order to get there, Pisco, we're gonna have to just test. Let's test the basics first. On the top of the page, it says an argument from self-defense.
Yeah.
I feel very threatened by the Democrats' plan to add 4 justices to the court and pack the Senate. I feel deeply threatened. Am I justified, Pisco? Am I justified in packing the court?
That's just the title I gave the argument. That's not anything in the argument.
Pisco, nobody but you cares about your argument. So am I justified in packing the court?
Well, I think that the argument, if the premises are true, then the conclusion, which is the proposition of the debate, follows.
So you're not going to answer if the Republicans are justified in packing the court?
If the Republicans are the injured party, they would be justified under the argument.
No.
It's a neutral argument.
You're a lawyer. You're a lawyer. You know what self-defense means. Do I need to let somebody injure me before I have a right to self-defense?
Yeah, so I take that as a derail. It's not within the argument, but it is a neutral argument.
I'm going to tell you this honestly, nobody cares about the condition. Nobody cares. Well,
this is the argument that I've come to present. And so are you saying that you don't have a basis to reject any of the premises?
What I care about is the fact that your party is tyrannically planning to lock themselves in power and lock the Republicans out of power for generations. That's what I care about, Pisco.
That's not the argument.
Your syllogism means nothing to me. I couldn't care less about it. No, how about this, Pisco? We can make this very easy. Do you disavow the plan to add 4 justices in Pact 13?
No,
disavow
but that's not the proposition of the debate.
Do you disavow?
No, I don't. No, I know I don't.
Okay,
But that's
so
tangential.
If you don't tangential, then that's what we're
Ryan,
calm. That's what we're talking about.
That's tangential.
Do you
presented an argument
condemn the plan to add extra seats?
This is just rhetoric. This is just rhetoric.
To pack the Senate.
This is rhetoric.
Do you disavow and condemn, Pisco?
Wait.
Do you disavow and condemn, Pisco?
That's rhetoric. I just want to address my argument.
Yes,
Can we address
Pisco,
the argument?
yes or no? I'll give you your famous one. Yes or no, Pisco? I already
told you I don't disavow the the plan by Ro Khanna. I don't disavow it, but
Okay.
I've already answered it. So now I'd like to address my argument for the debate proposition. Is that all right?
No, it's not all right, Pisco.
So I brought an argument to the
Pisco,
debate proposition, and you don't want to address why.
We're going to get to it, but I just want to make sure the audience understands what you're saying. You're
It's
saying
just rhetoric and posturing.
You support packing the court
just
to
posturing.
13 members, correct? That's
one of several solutions that I'm okay with, but like
you won't
that's not the
disavow it.
proposition.
Your party's advocating for it. You won't disavow it. So
of course I won't disavow it, but like I'm trying to give you an argument in favor of it, and you don't want to address it.
And you will not disavow, Pisco. You will not disavow packing the Senate by adding
the
new
argument
states.
isn't about what I'm going to disavow or not. The argument is whether it's justified.
But you won't disavow it. You're not.
Hang on a second. We're not here to do posturing and rhetoric.
Why not, Pisco?
It's a debate.
I'm here to defend my country from tyranny, Pisco. That's what I'm here to do.
Okay, so are you here to debate the proposition or not?
Pisco, what I'm here to do is point out that the Democrats are on the verge, based on the thinnest veneer of justification,
that's not the debate proposition.
To lock themselves
that's
into
not the debate
power
proposition
forever. And we can
that's
get
not
to
what we're
your
here to
silly
debate.
argument in a second.
So you want to debate something? So we agreed to a debate prompt, and now you're saying you want to debate something else.
Well, Pisco, what you want to do, what your party wants to do, what you will not disavow,
that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about
the Republicans out of power. Pisco, how about this? Tell me you don't want to lock the Republicans out of power.
Yeah, no, but that's
Pisco,
tangential to the topic.
Do you want to lock
tangential
Republicans
to
out
the
of power?
topic? We're here to debate the court expansion.
Pisco,
yeah, I do think we should
Republicans out of power.
Try to stay as close to the topic as possible on the.
Sure.
We agreed to a topic. Let's stick to it. I provided an argument for that.
Am I gonna get an answer about whether you would like to lock the Republicans out of power?
I view that as a derail. I've already answered some of your derail questions, and I've chosen not to.
We're not going to get
correct some of your false assertions in your intro, but it has nothing to do with what we're here to debate.
So we're not going to get an answer to that.
It's not what we're here to debate. I think I have to stand my ground and say we're here to argue a specific point, and you trying to derail and use rhetoric is not effective.
I think the audience understands exactly why you won't disavow that, and that's more than.
I think they understand why you're not willing to address the argument.
Let's go to your nonsense. Let's go to your nonsense argument, Pisco.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Which premise do you disagree with?
5. There is no reason to expect a severe consequence cascade.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. Why on earth would the Republicans not repack the court the next time they have power?
I'm not saying that they wouldn't.
So you think that that's not a severe consequence cascade if the parties just keep expanding the court over and over and over again?
I view that as preferable to the status quo.
Pisco, your argument doesn't say it's preferable to the status quo. Your argument says there's no severe consequence cascade.
Well,
you don't think that packing the court over and over again would be a severe consequence cascade?
Yeah, I view the consequences relative to a status quo of some sort. If, for example, it's not making things worse in any respect compared to taking the action, I don't view that as making things worse. It's making things better. So it's not even a consequence.
Your proposal leads to 100-member Supreme Court where every couple of years we had new judges in there. The Constitution totally changes. All the rulings totally change. That wouldn't be a severe consequence cascade. You think that's preferable to the status quo?
I don't think that outcome is, precisely speaking, likely the 100-person thing, because we've never seen examples of this kind of thing before.
Because you're proposing something unprecedented. Your party is proposing a 4-person partisan pack. It's never been done in the history of the United States, Pisco. It's never been done. So yes, when you propose
the argument is not
unprecedented, then it turns out that you might get an unprecedented outcome.
Are you conceding that you don't have any examples of this occurring?
Pisco, you're proposing something unprecedented. You are proposing something unprecedented.
I don't think the debate
saying to me, do you have examples of how this turns out? Well, you're doing something unprecedented, Pisco. Can you name for me a time when they did a 4-person partisan pack?
The argument isn't specific to
name one.
The argument isn't specific to a number of justices.
Well, Pisco,
my argument is not.
Do you disavow the 13-person pack?
No, I don't. But that's not what we're here to debate. We're here to debate court.
Are you aware that James Carville said that Democrats should lie?
Yeah, Ro Khanna is not
James Carville is who I said. That James Carville said that the Democrats should not talk about it. They should hide their power level. They should get into power and then just do it. Are you aware?
Why is it relevant what James Carville said?
Because nobody should trust you saying, "Oh, we're going to pack it."
The debate isn't whether you can trust me.
Pisco, I'm just giving an argument to pack it to 10.
My character isn't at issue here, right? Wait. Do you think my argument is the debate? My character is the debate?
The The Democrats are planning to pack it to 13.
My character the debate.
You support packing it to 13.
Yeah, but we're debating court expansion generally.
To argue the thing you actually support, why should anyone take you seriously? Why would anyone care about your argument
why don't we
about
start,
packing it to one seat when that's not even on the table?
Why don't we start with just the minimal condition?
No,
why not?
We will not start with the minimal condition.
Why not?
Because that's not what the Democrats are proposing, Pisco. I don't care about
my
your
argument.
Syllogism, Pisco. I'm defending my country from your party's tyranny.
So you don't want to debate the proposition,
Pisco? I don't give a shit about the proposition. What I'm telling you, Pisco, is that your party is advocating for rampant tyranny, and you won't even disavow it, Pisco.
I don't
you
think
even have the courtesy to disavow it because you support it.
If you wanted to come and debate a particular,
if
you wanted to come to debate a particular plan, you should have told the debate organizers that's what you wanted to debate.
Expanding to 13 within expanding the court, Pisco? Is that within the proposition?
It's a subset. It's a subset, but it's not the only.
It is a subset,
but it's not the only.
And is it a subset that you personally support?
It's one of many measures that I would support.
And is it a subset that's supported by the Democratic Party?
Some, but not all.
So then defend your position, Pisco. Defend your position.
Why don't we just take
some
this
hypothetical position that your party's not taking?
Well, the whole
defend your position.
It's all it's all hypothetical, right?
Pisco,
so I'm going to propose.
So
I'm going to propose. So I would be okay with the 2-person court pack. That's a position that I've expressed before. I wouldn't be. I think that the additional 2 with Ro Khanna, that is enough for mild deterrence. But why don't we just not get into that more complicated factor and just look at something? Why?
Because, Pisco, recently you went on and you said we can talk about 13, which I support. That's a quote from you. This is your position. You've said that you support
that's not what
13.
we agreed to debate about. We agreed to debate
Pisco,
about court expansion.
I'm debating to save my country from your tyranny. I care not
I take that to be like meta and rhetoric and posturing and like
at all about.
Okay, so then maybe you should have just done a speech and instead of like doing a debate.
Pisco,
I mean, that's a speech.
I am here to alert people to the vast danger that your party is posing.
You weren't here to debate. You're not here to debate.
Unchecked danger that your party is posing.
Are you here to debate or not?
Here's the deal. You won't even debate the position you hold. You won't debate the position your party holds.
I want to debate the position we agreed to. We agreed to a proposition.
If you are
That's what I
happy to disavow 13, I am happy to talk about 11.
It's just tangential. I don't, but
then
it's tangential to what we agreed to debate about. We agreed to debate on a specific thing, and you want to debate like a harder, I guess, in your view,
when you proposed it, I said you can take it however you want. I'm talking about what your party actually wants to do.
Do you think a 2-person expansion would be an expansion?
I don't care about some narcissistic competition between you and me. You are trying to rape our country with tyranny on behalf of a party that is packing the court to 13 and expanding the Senate by 2 states to lock the Democrats out of power, and you won't even disavow it. You don't even have the courtesy to disavow it, and you expect me to play mind games with you about a policy that
it's not a mind game. I'm trying to actually focus us on the thing that we agreed to talk about.
I don't care what you are trying to focus on, Pisco. You support 13. Defend it. Defend it.
Like we can schedule a debate on 13.
All
and
right.
I'm happy to do that with you right now.
Quit,
all right.
Quit.
So let's.
But this is what I'm here to talk about.
That's just not what we're here to debate.
It's what I'm here to talk about.
So are you here?
Are you
not here to
defend? Condemn it?
Well, no. We can schedule We can schedule a debate for the 13.
Are you going to condemn it or not?
No, I would support it.
You're talking about 13. And I'm going to talk about 13.
No, that's not a proposition.
Every step of the way.
That's not what we agreed to debate about.
I don't care.
You don't care about our agreement on the debate?
I don't care about the agreement. I care about the future of my country and saving it from the tyranny
so you should have had a
want
speech
to impose. That's what I care about.
Are you conceding the proposition then?
Pisco, are you
conceding the proposition?
I don't care about the proposition at all. I care about the fact that you are advocating for open tyranny, and you don't care more about some mind game competition between the two of us. You care more about some narcissistic debate prompt.
I care about what we agreed to debate about.
Well, then, if you care about the future of the country,
you just said you don't care about
13 is good, then you should be able to defend 13.
I can. We can schedule that if you want.
13, defend it.
Wait, no, but we scheduled the debate. The debate that I came here to actually have with you is the debate about what we agreed to debate about. That's what I think we should do.
No, I do not care about that at all.
You don't agree
I
about the
can't-
agreement we had to debate this
Not
thing?
at all. Not when you are advocating for tyrannical control of the country under
That's
one
just
party
rhetoric,
rule.
Ryan.
Well,
Ryan, that's just rhetoric.
It's
okay?
your
Like,
position,
I
Pisco, and
don't
you
want the
won't
meta.
defend it.
I just want the actual debate.
If 13 is not tyranny, defend it. If 13 is not
I
tyranny,
will.
defend it, Pisco.
We can schedule a debate on the 13th.
Oh,
I just thought we were here.
we could schedule it later, Pisco?
Yeah.
Oh,
we
would that be
can if you
nice?
want.
Yeah, defend it.
Or you could concede the proposition and
Pisco,
we can talk about the 13 right
we
now.
talk about the 13 right now. I don't care about the proposition. Go, defend it. Pisco, I don't care about the proposition. Defend the 13.
I do want to clarify if I should consider that a concession on this specific
I am
proposition.
happy to talk about whatever.
Concede?
Sure, I concede. Pisco, talk about 13.
You concede. Okay.
Go.
So you concede the Democrats are justified in court expansion.
No,
Just
I
be clear.
obviously think that's bullshit.
Okay, then why are you lying? Wait, no, stop. Wait a second. Why are you lying and saying that you concede when you don't actually concede?
Because my personal integrity matters less to me than the future of my country. And
you lie when it's convenient.
You are open to tyrannizing the country, and you won't
you lie when it's
defend your
convenient?
proposition. Would
you
I
lie when it's convenient?
Would I lie to defend my country from tyranny? Yes. Would you?
In the context of this debate, you're lying because it's convenient.
You won't even defend the proposition the position you hold. So if
I would, but I want to debate the thing we agreed to.
Well, Pisco, I don't give a shit about that. Defend 13. Go. That's what the Democrats are proposing.
I'm not going to move to a different proposition until we get like a finality on the.
We have finality. Go.
No, we don't. You had a fake concession, and by your own terms,
yes,
a lie.
It is obviously. I'm obviously lying when I concede. Go. Continue.
Yeah, 13, no, but I don't want a fake concession. I want an actual resolution.
Okay, Pisco.
We debate about.
Well, you're not going to get it. 13. Defend it.
Wait a second. We had an agreement. You and I. We had an agreement about what to debate about.
Hey, Pisco.
And now you're just.
If you had the opportunity to break an agreement to stop Donald Trump from doing the false slate of electors, would you have broken that agreement?
Depends on the agreement.
Okay. Well, what you're proposing, you're not even sure about that? Okay.
Depends on the agreement.
You're not even sure that you would. I think you've described that as authoritarian, fascist, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
You would
depends on the agreement.
All that. Would you break an agreement with me about it?
Depends on it.
Would you break an agreement with me about a debate prompt?
It depends on the nature of what's at stake, but like this
is pretty low stakes, Pisco.
The consequence, yeah, that's why it makes no sense to lie about it, right? Like it's not
quick,
that whether this debate happens or not, the thing's gonna happen, you know.
Pisco, real quick, I'm getting a lot of asking if you could just lower your mic slightly.
Oh, sure, I'll try to do that.
Here's the issue, Pisco.
Yeah.
What your party is proposing, I view as worse than anything they have accused Trump of doing. This is the worst, most tyrannical thing I have heard. And by the way, Pisco, when I preferred Trump in 2024, I sacrificed my vote. I didn't vote for him because I thought what he did with the false slate of electors was disqualifying. You, on the other hand, are openly advocating for this tyranny. You're openly advocating for it, and you don't even have the balls to defend it. You don't even have the balls.
What you can't say that, Ryan, because I am willing to defend that.
So defend it.
I also want to. I do want to. I am willing to defend it, and I just told you we can schedule a debate for that specific thing. But
this is the lawyer's banality. This is let me point to this little technicality, and hopefully you won't see that what we're planning to do is lock the Republicans out of power.
Ryan, it's not a technicality. It's what
Pisco. Do you favor locking the Republicans out of power?
So that's not a technicality. What
Pisco, do you favor locking the Republicans out of power?
It's not a technicality.
Pisco, do you favor locking the Republicans out of power?
It's not a technicality. So I want to address what you just said. You said that I'm doing something like
do you favor locking?
Yeah. So I'm not going to get moved out of derail, right? Like you're just doing rhetoric. You're just doing rhetoric right now. It's not helping.
Yes or
I'm
no?
trying to defend
Pisco?
myself. So we had an agreement. I'm not going to get like sandbagged by you on a different proposition.
Do I favor locking the Democrats out of power? No, I don't.
Yeah, no. You're so virtuous and you're wonderful, and that's
tyrannical.
We're all here to just virtue signal. That's what you're doing right now.
It's a very, very easy question, Pisco. It shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, I'm a great. You're a great person, except you lie about trivial
the question whether you favor locking the Republicans out of power.
It's tangential. I don't want to get a derail.
You can't favor.
I want to debate.
You can't answer that question.
No, I have an answer, but I just don't want to derail. Do you understand that?
How about this? Do you think we should live in a world where people in California and New York run everything? Do you favor that world?
More rhetoric. I mean, that's about as relevant as the Senate thing was. Okay. I mean, these are all irrelevant.
But would you deny that position? You think we'd be in a
I have
better world if California and New York ran the show?
I have a view on what you just said, but I think at this point I'm not going to entertain any more derails.
Okay.
And I think that
So then
you can concede on the proposition,
I'll just read
or you can engage it and have the debate.
I'll just read some fun quotes from Pisco then. Back in the day,
I mean,
when he was
is this really
back in
is
the
this
day
really
when
debates?
he was Pisco 95, he had a chat with Destiny called "The Problems with Packing the Supreme Court," discussion with law student Pisco 95. And at the 30-minute mark, he said, "Don't you think we live in a better world if California's running the show and New York are running the show? Isn't that a better plan? Isn't that a better world?" You can go look it up for yourself. Here's another conversation that Pisco recently had. He went on the Brad Palumbo show with actual Justice Warrior Sean, and he was asked about the ratchet issue.
Characters and personalities.
The ratchet issue, Pisco, which is a premise.
You're attacking my character.
A premise in your debate.
Opinions.
Hey, this is a premise in your argument, Pisco. This is a premise in your argument. Sean.
Which premise is that? Can you actually tell me which?
That
premise?
there will not be a cascade of consequences.
Yeah, go for it.
Brad brought up the ratchet effect, and Pisco said, "Quote, what you present as the negative," in reference to the ratchet effect, that is to say, the ratchet, the back and forth, that's a virtue. And Brad Palumbo then
you didn't understand that then.
Quote,
you didn't understand it.
That's a virtue. And you said, I quote, it is a virtue. I'm not done reading the quote yet, Pisco. Yeah. And Brad continued, quote, when it leads to the point that we have 100 members of the Supreme Court, and you said, I'll tell you why. And then Brad said, and it becomes a joke, and presidents will just disregard its rulings eventually. Would we be in a better or worse place? And you said, you might be befuddled by it, but it's a virtue. You said it was a virtue.
So you're not.
Brad
you're not
said
understanding. So
we have 100-member Supreme Court, and people.
Moderator, can I explain the quote? I mean, if we're gonna do this kind of sandbag,
I mean, I will
attack by surprise, and you're just gonna talk over when I'm trying to explain it. So you, first of all, I shouldn't even entertain this derail. It has nothing to do with the proposition, but because you're attacking my character relentlessly, that quote is indexed to the nature of the norm violation. And what I'm referencing isn't that I want the Supreme Court to be functionless, rudderless, and not have any rule of law respected or anything like that. What I'm saying was virtuous is the fact that a constitutional violation, or sorry, a norm violation is available to both sides. That symmetry is virtuous with respect to the norm violation. So the fact that Mitch McConnell's whole Senate play in terms of blocking people in this given context was more specific, more granular, more unique to the circumstances of that situation, I said was less virtuous because it wasn't available to the other side to respond in kind. That's the nature in which I said it was virtuous in comparing the norm violation, not the result that you're talking about of apocalyptic times, which of course I don't agree to or sign on as particularly likely.
Okay, go ahead and unmute Ryan. When someone asks the mod to intervene to give their little piece, I'm just going to give them about a minute or so, maybe a minute and a half, and then I'll mute the other party so we can stay on the rails.
I would invite the audience to consider Pisco's explanation, and then I'll just read the end of that quote again and see if that checks out for you. Brad said, when it leads to the point that we have 100 members of the Supreme Court, Pisco said, I'll tell you why. Brad said, and it becomes a joke, and presidents will just disregard its rulings eventually. Would we be in a better or worse place? And Pisco said, you might be befuddled by it, but it is a virtue.
No, I wasn't saying it's virtuous to disobey the Supreme Court. What I was referencing was the notion of oscillation being available as a remedy to either side. In assessing the scope of the constitutional norm violation, I was saying that availability on only one side is less virtuous. The fact that there's equal parity and symmetry, that's a virtuous aspect of the if we're comparing norm violations.
He said obviously I don't want the Supreme Court, and it's a joke that gets disregarded. And you said it's a virtue.
Ryan. I'm telling you right now that's not what I meant.
And I'm telling the audience that they should disregard you because you are putting a.
So I didn't know my character was an issue in this debate
over tyranny.
So you don't want to debate the proposition. You want to debate whether I'm a good person or whether I'm truthful after you are a self-admitted liar, and you don't want to actually adhere to the agreement of the debate. If you were willing to defend the positions you actually hold, then I wouldn't be forced to keep pointing out what positions you actually hold. But you do hold these positions. Why are the full range of my positions at issue in this debate? Isn't the debate about court expansion?
The people
why are we entertaining this?
Those range of positions are attempting to lock the Republicans out of power, and you support it and defend it and are using your skills as a lawyer to give sane washing cover to tyranny.
And that's just not the prompt. We can schedule. We can schedule a debate on that specifically if you want to.
Pisco,
that's just not what we scheduled the debate about.
Talk about it. I'm here right now.
I don't think I should entertain a derail after we had an agreement.
Pisco, we all know damn well why you won't entertain this, because you want to.
No, I literally will.
Power.
I just told you I will schedule. No, hang on a second. I just told you I'll schedule a debate with you on that proposition that I want to lock Republicans out of power.
Since Pisco,
I'm not
Pisco
avoiding
has
it.
Pisco has a hard time saying this is my position. Last night on his stream, he said, quote, "The only way we are going to get the Republican Party in a position of semi-coherent, semi-goodness is if they are out of power for a long time." And hey, here's
I said 10 years.
Way to do it. Rig the court.
I said 10 years.
Rig the Senate.
I said 10 years.
Yay! No more.
Then I said 10 years. But that's not the proposition of the debate or my other plans or thoughts about politics. The debate proposition is about a particular policy.
Do your other plans and thoughts about politics involve locking the Republicans out of power through court packing and adding?
I don't think I should entertain the derail anymore, Ryan. I mean, we can schedule a debate on those measures. If we can schedule a debate,
if you'd like to drop, we can end the event. But this is what I'm going to talk about.
This is pathetic, bro.
This is what I'm going to talk about.
You came here under false pretenses. I came
to Pisco because
ambush me about an atypical.
You are using the thinnest veneer of bullshit logic, which, by the way,
you came
on
under
its
false
own
pretenses.
Terms, doesn't even hold up. You've admitted that the ratchet effect would lead to a 100-member Supreme Court. You just think that's preferable.
No, I didn't.
Okay, why wouldn't it?
I just explained.
Why wouldn't
it? I just explained to you why you're misquoting me. You're misunderstanding me. You're when I was saying that's
Brad said we'd have a 100-member Supreme Court, and you called it a virtue, and then you said
part. No,
you said, Pisco, that was preferable.
If you actually watch, status
quo.
So this is all a derail. So I just want to flag again, it's all a derail. But if you actually watch the video, it's clear that when I'm saying it's actually what you presented as this is actually virtuous, the back and forth. And it's clear that what I'm saying is virtuous is before Brad says the thing about the 100. I'm making a point and they interrupt me with the 100 thing, but the point relates not to the thing that I didn't hear yet when I said it's virtuous. Okay. And so you're reading it just, it's not, if you actually go to the clip, it's clear that I'm not saying it's preferable to have that result, especially when I don't think it's likely. If that result happened,
Pisco, if we got 50-member Supreme Court after 20,
I'm not going
years.
I'm not going to accept.
Do you find that preferable?
Yeah, I'm not going to accept.
Do you find that preferable?
All right, I would like to just maybe for the sake of the audience here, get an agreement that we can just schedule whatever other specific things we'd like to debate on for another time. Happy to have it here on the channel.
You can do it now if he just has a real concession on the actual.
That was going to be the second thing. I'm open to moving to anything else that Ryan would like to address specifically. If there is some sort of agreement on either a concession or we continue back on the premises that you guys did agree to.
Pisco, I am delighted to talk about anything else if you will admit that you favor the 13 member pack. You favor packing the Senate. You favor busting the filibuster. You favor all these things, Pisco. I don't know why you won't defend the positions you hold.
Yeah, so I just think I need to stick to my guns and say we had an agreement. You came under false pretenses. You say you don't care about our agreement, that you shit all over the agreement. And I just take that to be definitionally bad faith and not really worthy of anyone's consideration. It's not really convincing.
Pisco,
and I would rather just debate the proposition.
Pisco, I would break my word to you to save my country 100 days in a row. And
but lying to me doesn't make that happen.
The stuff that you are doing is so slimy, disingenuous, and dangerous that it needs to be called out. It needs to be called out, Pisco. No more hug box panels. You need to be told to your face
don't even want to debate.
That what you are doing is worse than the authoritarian stuff you decry. You have become an authoritarian, Pisco, and you won't even deny that you hold these positions.
So first of all, I have views on my positions are well known. I know my positions.
I do too, Pisco.
So you've accurately and also inaccurately characterized some of my views. And to engage you in this back and forth dialogue about which of the views you've properly characterized, which ones you've improperly characterized, I think is a derail, and it's not respectful of anyone's time. Certainly not of the organization that set up this whole debate for us to have a conversation on a specific thing. Where we, by the way, in advance of this, I gave this argument. In advance of this, we advertised this to people to come watch. I have people who I know personally who are watching this debate. I think it's disrespectful to my time, to their time, and to, again, an argument that you knew in advance I was going to try to levy, and now
Pisco, are you willing to concede that the thing you want to debate is not the Democrats' plan?
So it depends on what you characterize the Democrats' plan, but the answer is there's a range of ideas here. There's not one big plan. There's not one big plan.
I certainly are the Democrats justified in expanding the Supreme Court? I certainly take that to mean the plan the Democrats
For specifically, that's what you take to be. For specifically, that's not what it says there. I know you originalists. You like to invent different things, but that's not what it says.
You might take it differently, Pisco. You might take it differently, but I would like to talk about the plan the Democrats actually have. Do you not want to talk about the plans the Democrats have?
I just told you I'm happy to schedule the debate for the 4. I'm happy to do that, and I'm happy even right now if you concede on the debate proposition, then we can talk about the 4, whether or not that's in keeping with or that's justified. I mean, I'm telling you right now, I just don't.
Do you at least admit that the plan the Democrats had would lead to the cascade of horrible consequences that breaks your syllogism?
Yeah. So, like, it depends on which plan you're talking about, but that's not what's contained.
Hacking the court, locking the Republicans out of the Senate.
Yeah, that's a whole package of different things that isn't the proposition, right?
But it is the plan that your party has advocated for.
Yeah. So if you have an argument that if you are prepared with an argument as to why it's bad and it's all these bad other things or whatever, you could certainly present that. But like, I am presenting an argument. I think that it's one that deserves your time and attention.
I don't know
not.
Why. It does not.
Why not?
Because you are being a puppet for tyrants. You are being a toady for people who would take away my liberty and burn my constitution, Pisco. It's a fucking disgrace. It does not deserve my time and attention, especially if you can't even defend the plan your party has. The plan your party actually has.
So first of all, it's Rokana and like a few people. It's not any party platform or anything. But even putting that aside,
and you
right?
Like, disavow it because even Pisco.
But I'm not afraid to defend that. I'm just telling you right now. I'm willing to schedule a debate on that specific proposition, or to do it right now after I get a concession.
Defend it. Go right now.
It.
Go ahead right now.
Why? I would like to first prioritize the thing we agreed to do.
Okay, Pisco. Just for fun, since I guess we're here. What does justified mean in your syllogism?
Oh no, the precept stuff. By justified here, I just mean ethically justified.
What does that mean?
Yeah, by ethically justified, I take that to be what ought happen.
What ought happen? What's good?
Yeah. So what is good?
What's good based on what?
I don't think it dials in. I don't think it dials in any specific meta ethical position.
Well,
I think it's compatible within a range of.
Well, then how do I know? Then how do I know it's good?
So I take a kind of meta ethical discussion or debate to be a derail of sorts.
So it's an undefined term that you are unwilling to define.
No, it's defined. No, I just defined it.
Well, what do you mean by good? Pisco, you said in your.
I just told you. What
you said in your opening that self-defense is only available for Democrats. So I think we might have different ideas about what good means.
So no, the argument is neutral. It just, in this particular case, the injured party is. I don't know if you've seen it. I'm glad that we're now going to the argument. The injured party are the Democrats. That's
why?
P6. It's a neutral argument. It applies. So I would bite this bullet if it were Republicans in the same position. I would say
then what does court packing and injury mean?
Yeah, I'm happy to get into that and tell you what I mean by those terms.
Mm-hmm.
So by court packing, I mean a change of the composition of the existing court, which is irregular and actively driven.
A change of the composition of the existing court, which is irregular and actively driven.
Yep.
Okay. So any change in composition. As in the
irregular and actively driven.
The membership of the court changes.
Yeah, which is irregular and actively driven.
Okay. So when the Democrats refused to confirm Robert Bork in 1987, was that?
No, I don't.
Was that court packing, Pisco?
Yeah, no.
Well, prior to that, it was a given that you would get a fair shake about your credentials.
Yeah, I don't view that as irregular.
He got denied, Pisco, not for his credentials. He got denied for his views on the law, because he was an originalist. Why is that not
I don't view that. Yeah, so I take irregular to be a violation of established norm.
That was an established norm.
I don't believe it was.
Prior to that point, people were getting typically 98, 90, 10 confirmations, and it was just about whether you were a good judge.
What's the norm? What's the norm?
The norm was that
it's also
Supreme Court justices were judged on the basis of their ability as a lawyer, not their partisan affiliation or views on particular legal issues. And with Robert Bork, the Democrats broke that norm and they denied him his confirmation purely because he was an originalist. Is that irregular, Pisco?
Yeah, no, I just explained. I don't think that it's an irregular or norm.
Why not? There was a norm. They broke the norm. Was it irregular?
Yeah, no, I don't think that there was a norm. I think that what you're describing as a norm wasn't.
You don't think there was a norm? I invite anybody watching this, go back and Google Borking. Go back and Google Robert Bork.
Even if it were true, even if it were true, it doesn't falsify any of the premises.
Well, no, it shows that the Democrats in 1987 engaged in court packing by your definition.
Well, it's logically possible for more sides than one to be justified in court packing. That's logically possible. But I don't agree with your case study. I don't agree with the Bork example. I just explain why. But you're not falsifying any of the premises.
As the Democrats court packed in 1987, then they were justified in the Republicans were justified in court packing.
So I just explained to you why. So I just explained to you why it wasn't a violation of a norm. It also didn't change the composition of the court.
It did.
It didn't. It did not.
It did. We didn't. No, we did not get an originalist court. Instead, we got Justice Kennedy, and Justice Kennedy gave us the wonder of substantive due process and the Obergefell decision. Which invented the right to gay marriage out of constitutional thin air.
Yeah,
it was a pretty big change in the constitution of the court, Pisco. It was a pretty big change.
So composition here is not with respect to legal theory. That's not what I'm indexing for.
So
it's indexing for
it's irregular
partisanship and partisan interest.
But irregular, but not as to the things that Republicans care about. The things only irregular as to things that Democrats care about.
No. Where we see a potential partisan injury. That partisan injury.
The Republicans were very injured by that, Pisco. We lost an originalist majority. We would have had an originalist majority. We lost it. We were very injured.
So I don't view that as an injury. As I use standard definition of injury here. It was a Republican pushed and
are you uniquely qualified to decide what's a political injury?
Well, you can decide for yourself. I'm not saying that I am
I take it as a political injury.
But the Republicans got their nominee and the Democrats approved Anthony Kennedy.
I take it as a political injury. And since we're both equally qualified there, then P2, the Republicans were injued by partisan Supreme Court packing.
I don't think
so. We can go down to P3. There was no effective way to reverse it.
Can we just pause? I don't know why you're so can we just pause? Is that okay? So let's address the issue of the Bork situation and Kennedy.
The fact that
can we address it? Can we address it? Can we address it?
Sure.
Can we address it? So, it's your claim, right, that any time that a candidate is rejected, that it changes the composition of the Supreme Court?
No, it's my claim that your argument is nonsense and using proprietary definitions.
What do you mean by nonsense?
And I'm pointing out.
Wait, what do you mean? No, hang on. What do you mean by nonsense?
Pointing out its absurdity, Pisco, by running through how it actually applies to historic examples.
Wait, that's not part of the argument. So so I'm not claiming that I'm. So
Pisco, I'm criticizing.
I'm not making any claim.
It's a bad argument. I'm not here to gloss your argument. It's a dumb argument. I'm explaining to you why it's dumb by showing that it applies equally to Republicans, but you don't accept it because you're partisan.
No, because it's obviously false. No, the injury, the Republican Party, right, promoted Kennedy there. And the Republican Party wanted Kennedy.
We did not want Kennedy.
No injurious.
We did not want Kennedy. We wanted Bork. We thought Kennedy was all we could get because the Democrats had shown for the first time in modern history that they were going to put blatant politics into the judicial nomination process.
It's desperation. So to be clear, I don't know what you're saying that court packing has an objective true meaning. I don't really care about your semantic perspectives. That's not part of the argument to the extent that you disagree with a definition or whatever. That's a stupid thing to even raise. So let me finish.
You don't think these terms have objective definitions?
What do you mean by objective definition?
Well,
you're going to get into objective true platonic forms of words.
If the terms can't be defined, Pisco, how can we use your argument?
No, hang on. I'm not saying that wait, I'm defining the terms. You understand what I mean?
Well,
right?
you gave me a definition, and I used it to show that it.
Do you not understand? Do you understand what I said when I defined court packing? Did you understand my words?
Yeah, you said it was irregular, and the Bork thing was definitely irregular. You want to give the definition again, Pisco? Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. No, but you understood when we were talking about irregular. Irregular was mapping onto some constitutional norm,
and there was a norm. There was a norm
Yeah, no,
not to hold justices accountable to their particular politics or their particular judicial philosophies, but to judge them on their ability to be
I
a
don't know what the
legal
evidence
mind.
is for that norm. I don't know what the evidence is for that norm.
It's a
even putting that aside,
well-established historic fact that anyone can look up, Pisco. And I invite the audience to look
judges
up
are not
Robert
just
Bork's nomination to see if Pisco, a lawyer, should be aware of one of the seminal events
judges
in
are
US
not
history
I'm
on
aware,
the topic we came here to debate, which he suddenly has no knowledge of.
So I'm not saying that I have no knowledge about being borked. I'm in fact giving you.
So then what was
why? Wait,
what was the norm prior to Bork?
let me finish. Let me finish what I'm saying.
What was the norm then?
The evidence that I have that it wasn't a norm is that judges have been questioned on their integrity on crimes. There have been judges who've resigned because of accusations. This is I think Fontes, Abe Fontes,
about
and others
crimes.
Yeah, about their personal
crimes
lives.
they
This
committed.
is, but not just that, improprieties, things like that. So these are all relevant considerations, as well as Bork was involved in the Saturday Night Massacre, and you might have a different view on that about whether or not the Saturday Night Massacre was like a big deal, given your view on like the immunity decision or whatever. But I think that's. Are you saying that it would be norm violating to consider his role in the Saturday Night Massacre?
I'm saying, Pisco,
that
the Democrats, led by Joe Biden, tore him apart and their express concerns was that he was too conservative, too originalist, in favor of overturning Roe v. Wade, and that if you let him on the court, there would be a quote unquote, there would be an enormous number of back alley abortions, Pisco. This is judging a judge on how they are going to rule on a particular case, on a particular issue of constitutional law, and it was not the norm that judges were held to that standard prior to Bork. Do you have an example of any judge who was?
Yeah, I mean that's just silly. I mean,
do you have an example of any judge who was held to that standard?
Yes. Every president who's ever nominated a justice does so, at least in part, for partisan reasons.
That's not what I said. Repeat what I said.
Yes. So there is no norm.
Repeat what I said.
So there is no norm that that partisan results don't factor into the political branch and the determination of who's fit to be a Supreme Court justice. I mean, that's always considered. Obviously, it is.
That's not what I said. Do you understand the argument I'm making, Pisco? Can you steelman it?
You know, maybe you should say it again.
Okay. That prior to Bork, there was a norm that judges were not to be judged on partisan issues about how they will decide particular legal outcomes. It was improper to Pisco. Google it. This is well-known fact. You went to law school, brother. You went to law school, brother.
What's the evidence that it was a norm against considering that the results?
Can you name one instance?
You said you have evidence
prior to this.
So, for example, Roosevelt's determinations as who he would nominate for Supreme Court, this would be Justice Jackson among others, was in virtue of his thought process that they would uphold his New Deal regulations. Yeah, that's an example.
Say hi to Josiah for me. The issue, Pisco, there, which is a funny example for you to bring up Roosevelt. What's Roosevelt really famous for trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, he had a failed court pack.
He had a failed court pack, Pisco. So yeah, I think that dude might have tried to put justices on the court expressly
not
to change
just
the
him,
Constitution.
Bro. Not just him, bro.
To change the Constitution.
Not just him, bro.
Now,
not just him, bro. Don't be naive, Ryan. Don't be naive. Come on.
Here's why all this matters. Most people, most sane and normal people, understand that court packing does not relate to the advice and consent function of the Senate. Everyone, like the Senate has denied confirmations many times. I think I don't know the exact number. It's something like 35 times.
That's just how court packing is defined in the argument. That's just how court packing is defined in the argument.
Yes, and you're
just how court packing is defined in the argument.
Using a proprietary term, Pisco.
It's not proprietary.
I'm making, Pisco.
I have academic.
If you could let me finish my point, Pisco. The point that I'm making is that there have been at least 35 times where the Senate has denied advice and consent, sometimes with a no vote, sometimes by just letting it lapse. It's happened many times in our history. It's not court packing, Pisco. It's the advice and consent power of the Senate.
Court packing,
you are attempting to redefine
let me address what you're saying.
Court packing to justify the unjustifiable.
So you made a couple claims there. The first is that I'm using like a proprietary definition. I honestly don't know why that's relevant to the argument itself. It could be true that I'm using a proprietary I'm not that I'm using a proprietary definition, but that wouldn't change whether the argument is true or not. I mean, I can define terms however I want them, and it doesn't bear on the truth or falsity, except to the extent that like the difference in concept matters. I'm trying to convey meaning to you.
Well,
so
whether
I use the term court packing or court schmacking or court packing too, like, are you really going to quibble over the terminology here?
You just said what you just said. Extent there's a difference in concept, usage, and I explained a difference in concept.
Yeah. So
there's a difference in concept.
The argument uses a particular concept of court packing. Now you can say that it's proprietary. You don't have a basis to say that. You think I just made this up?
Pisco, I think that
you don't have a basis.
Yes, I do, right? Actually. Hold on.
What's the basis?
Okay. Let's find. We can find many definitions, Pisco. Let's.
No,
I'm looking at my notes.
If my definition appears in the literature, would you say it's proprietary?
Pisco, your definition of court packing.
Would it be proprietary? Can you answer a question?
Can you repeat it?
Yeah, sure.
Repeat it.
That no, wait. Can you answer my question first? If it appears in the literature, would you say it's proprietary? Yes or no?
Depends on the literature. Depends how widely accepted it is.
Okay. So court packing is a change in the composition of the court, which is irregular and actively driven.
Okay.
But again, it's irrelevant. All right, let's assume.
So, but hold on. A change in the composition. Wait, stop. A change in the composition of the court that's irregular and what?
And actively driven.
Okay.
But I'll grant it.
No.
But
it is throughout our history, the Senate has used its advice and consent power to deny nominations. Flat out. They've done it over and over again.
Are you fighting on fighting on one of the premises of the argument?
What's irregular?
Wait, are you contending that one of the premises of the argument is false?
I'm saying that by your definition, the Garland situation was not court packing.
No, but there was.
What was irregular about this?
So the norm that the Senate does not categorically refuse to hear nominations from a president, that they will categorically refuse to have any hearing whatsoever for a president's nominee for the Supreme Court.
That's a norm. That happened to President Fillmore.
Okay, no, but there was a norm established.
Okay,
there have been court packs in history as well, legislative court packs.
Yeah,
so and it's on all fours. It's on all fours.
But you see, there used to be violations. You see how this goes.
Just because there used to be violations doesn't mean that there isn't a norm established.
When the Republicans complain about a norm violation, not court packing in Pisco's mind, the Borg stuff, not court packing. But when the Democrats complain about a norm violation, court packing. And this is what I mean about the rule for
one's
the
a norm, one's not.
Nature of
Pisco's
Pisco's argument.
One's a norm and one's not.
It was a norm, Pisco. Like the idea, honestly, Pisco, the idea you're out so far over your skis on the idea that Bork was not a norm violation, because everybody who's watching this is going to look it up and see that you're just making things up because it's inconvenient for you.
You're assessing the
Pisco. You went
the norm
to
was
law school. This is part of what you learned.
So let's moderate. Can we just stop with the personalities and character attacks? I mean, it's really just irrelevant. I don't know why we're doing that.
It's relevant.
You went to law school.
It's relevant, Pisco, because you are using your law degree to obfuscate the tyranny of your party, and I am here to explain that to people
but that's not relevant
and
to the
reveal what you are doing.
That's not relevant to the proposition. My character is not at issue here.
And the fact that you are inconsistent about how you apply your own definitions shows this. It shows it.
What's the inconsistency? I'm denying that there was a norm violation.
Fine.
So I'm denying that it's a norm violation.
You are denying an established historic fact that everyone in the audience is going to look up and realize that you're wrong about. So we can move on, Pisco. It's humiliating enough to leave it there. Let's go.
Wait a second.
I just want to say I didn't say anything there just because that's it's a statement of fact. I get it. It's a little tongue in cheek, but I mean it's not super inappropriate. So I'm gonna just kind of ask
you mean about you're a lawyer, you're lying to everyone. You want
you're a lawyer statement part, the accusing you of lying thing. I mean,
he's saying that I'm abusing my professional credentials to destroy the country. And I don't see how that's
which you are doing.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's all well and good for you to claim that. I disagree, obviously, but that's not what we're here to debate.
Okay.
We're here to debate the actual issue, and I'm not inconsistent in my application. I think one was a norm and one was not a norm.
Okay.
And that's my explanation.
So,
and the other one,
so,
the other thing,
so
it fails
Pisco,
on
but Pisco,
is
how about
changing
this?
the composition.
You
wait,
think?
let me finish
you
this.
Think,
let me
okay,
finish
go
this.
ahead.
Let me finish this. And the other thing that it fails on is it didn't actually change the composition with respect to the partisan makeup. Here, the Republicans got a nominee through. They got Anthony Kennedy through. Now, you might not think that he was the ideal candidate, but in terms of composition, that's not what we're talking about.
It absolutely changed the
Republican
composition
nominee.
of the court. It took away the originalist majority. It preserved Roe v. Wade. It gave us the manufactured right to gay marriage out of thin air. It pretty badly changed the composition, Pisco. But
yes,
I think we've done enough.
You're not contending with the arguments,
we've
notions of injury.
I've done enough on that point. Let's move on to my broader critique, which is why do only your side get to define what self-defense is?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well,
my argument.
I feel, in my heart of heart, Pisco's, I feel very injured by the prospect of the court packing that the Democrats are about to do. I think there's going to be injurious court packing. I think there will be no way to reverse it without court packing of my own. I think that packing the Supreme Court to 4 more frothing at the mouth conservatives would just be, it wouldn't overshoot beyond mild deterrence. And I think there's no reason to expect a severe consequence cascade because we're going to lock your asses out of power and you'll never win an election again. And I feel very injured by this plan that you have, Pisco. Are the Republicans justified in packing the court right now?
Yeah, no, my argument doesn't turn on
That's
that.
my argument, Pisco. It's my argument.
What's the argument? What's the argument?
My argument is that you can do self-defense preemptively. You don't have to wait for somebody to hit you. So since you guys are planning a 13-seat court pack, the Republicans should do it tomorrow. They should get out ahead of you.
Wait, do you actually take the position?
Pisco.
Or do you take that position or not?
It depends. Are you guys?
So what do you mean?
Are you guys serious about packing to 13 and packing the Senate?
Wait, so I don't understand. Are you serious or not?
Well, so let's take a break and do some history. I've been
wait. Is that your position or is it not your position?
The whole time
why can't you answer the question?
I've been begging people to de-escalate, begging people to
more rhetoric,
de-escalate politically. But what I'm seeing today is that a colleague, a lawyer, can't even say that he disavows the positions that would lead to abject tyranny. So if you can't disavow those positions, Pisco, if the Democrats can't disavow those positions, why shouldn't the Republicans pack the court in advance?
Do you take the view or not?
If you guys are serious, then yes. It's an if. If you're if the Democrats are serious about
it's your position that I am serious, right?
If the Democrats are serious,
it's your position that I am serious, right?
You don't hold the levers of power, so it's the Democrats that matter here. If the Democrats are serious about locking the Republicans out of power, then yes,
your whole justification for lying to me
would be justified in doing first.
This is so funny. So your whole justification for lying about self-admittedly lying about the debate proposition, what you're willing to debate, what you care about, your whole defense of this and going into personalities, attacking my character, saying all these different positions that are obviously tangential was because if you don't, the country's going to be destroyed. Then I'm like, well, you whole thing is that I'm destroying the country, and you're like, oh well, you don't matter because you're not important. So what was this whole thing about you bringing up my character and lying to me? If I don't matter, then why did that?
Pisco, if the Democrats come through are willing to pack the court and lock the Republicans out of power, then the Republicans are justified in doing it.
You doubt that? I want your actual position. You doubt that?
That's the position. If the Democrats are serious, then the Republicans are justified. I'm asking
whether you doubt that. Do you doubt that they're serious?
I'm becoming increasingly convinced they are over the course of this conversation.
Because of me?
Yeah, because of you.
You just said I don't control the party.
You don't.
You make no sense.
You don't control the party, but you're someone who should know better. You're someone who should know better, and you won't even admit the tyranny that you're espousing.
Intuition. What I'm saying affects your intuition about what the Democratic Party is willing to do.
Because Pisco,
why?
We're lawyers. We're the ones who are supposed to stand up for the Constitution. When it came time for me to not vote for my preferred candidate because he had done something awful, I bit the bullet and didn't vote for him. When he prosecutes James Comey, and I think it's ridiculous, I stand up and
it's not strategic.
It's
not strategic, he says.
I stand up and bite
going after Comey is not strategic. I wouldn't do it. It's not strategic.
I said not to do it, Pisco.
Real quick, guys.
It's not strategic. It's stupid.
Real quick, both of you.
I've bitten these bullets over and over and over again, but you won't, and everybody knows why.
Ryan,
No, this is a neutral argument. It's
I just
neutral.
want to say we
I don't know
have
what to tell
10
you.
minutes left.
Yeah,
It's-
I mean, it's pathetic. I've given
Pisco,
you're not rejecting the
my
truth or
argument.
falsity of
My
any of the
argument
premises.
is, if the Democrats are serious about their plans, the Republicans are justified in packing the court tomorrow. Do you agree or disagree?
No, I don't agree. With
Why?
that,
On
but
what
it's not-
possible
it's
basis
also
could
not
you
relevant to my
disagree?
argument. Because it doesn't
Well,
fulfill the
talked
conditions that I've
we
laid
talked
out.
about your argument for the whole time. Let's talk about mine. Why would it not be fair for the Republicans?
But the proposition isn't whether Republicans.
Republicans.
But the proposition isn't whether Republicans are justified. It's whether Democrats are.
Yeah,
Justified.
you said it in your opening. Only the Democrats are justified. I get it. I'm asking to.
No,
I'm
the
te-
injured. Only the
I-
injured
I'm
party is
testing your
justified.
consistency.
Only the injured
Okay,
party is
so-
justified.
Pisco, in any self-defense scenario, do you have to get injured before you defend yourself?
No.
Okay, so this is a self-defense scenario, and I
No,
don't
but that's
have
that's
to
an
get injured.
equivocation.
I
That's
can-
an equivocation.
I can take
That's
a
an
step
equivocation.
before
That's an equivocation.
I can take
That's
a
an
step
equivocation.
to prevent the injury.
I'm not onboarding normal self-defense rules for physical force onto this argument.
I am.
This argument. This argument.
This is my
stands on its
argument.
own.
This is
Wait,
my argument,
okay.
Pisco. We
I know,
talked about your argument.
But
My
the argument
is
concludes.
Republican-
The argument
if
concludes
the
in something that's
Democrats are
literally
serious
irrelevant.
about this, the Republicans are justified to pack the court tomorrow. I'm testing
different
whether or not
debate.
you're willing to bite the bullet on anything.
So under my argument,
I'm
I
not
think that
talking
there are
about
cases-
your argument.
So
Pisco.
I'm willing to bite the bullet. I'm willing to bite the bullet that sometimes Republicans would be justified to do court packs. That's
I'm talking
the
about
argument
right
I
now.
presented. The
If the
argument I
Democrats are
presented
serious
is
about their
neutral. The
plan,
argument
are the Republicans
argument-
justified?
my argument as presented is neutral. It's neutral. The only difference is the injured party in this case are the
Pisco,
Democrats.
I'm not talking about
but-
your argument. I'm talking about my
Okay, but-
argument. My
Yeah,
argument.
your argument is about whether Republicans are justified.
Yes.
Thing, but the proposition is about whether Democrats are justified.
And is this another thing that you're unwilling to talk about?
Well, if what you're saying is an internal critique of my argument, then my argument is relevant. But if it's some other random thing, then it's literally irrelevant, right?
Well, what I'm testing, Pisco, is that you put an argument on stream with the title self-defense, and you seem to think that only you are empowered to
Is it
define
an
what
internal
self-defense
critique or not?
is.
Is it an internal critique of my
No,
argument or
Pisco,
not?
it's my argument. I told you it's
Wait,
my
okay,
argument.
if it's your argument, then it's irrelevant. It's about whether Republicans are justified in doing
Well,
something.
it seems, Pisco, that we found yet another thing that you won't admit to. Now, in my opening,
I wanna resolve
I
the
did mention
topic of the
that your
debate.
job tonight was to put a thin veneer of logic and banality over tyranny in order to protect the interests of your party.
Ryan,
And here we see you doing it.
Ryan, we're here to debate the proposition of the debate. That's what we're here to
Pisco,
do.
you won't admit you wouldn't admit that your nose was on fire at this point. You won't admit positions that you hold are true. You won't admit
I'm
that
happy to
if
do that.
what you're talking, if you're serious, if what the Democrats are doing, if they're serious
I do it
about
every day.
that the Republicans would be fully justified in taking
So
preventative
are you?
self-defense.
Is this an internal critique of my argument then?
If
Saying
they are
what
se-
you said,
if they are
what you
serious-
said is justified, that's an internal critique. Isn't
Sure,
it? Yes or no?
Let's do that.
Okay, so then
I
don't try to say.
I was proposing
then
it
don't
as
try
my-
to say.
I was
then don't try to
proposing
say
it
it's
as
not an
my
internal
own
critique of my
argument,
argument.
Pisco.
Okay, so you
Let
can't have it both
Pisco
ways, right,
respond.
Ryan?
Respond to that.
So Ryan wants to say, I'm not talking about your argument. And now he's forced to concede, yes, it's an internal critique. Well, if it's an internal critique of my argument, then obviously my argument is relevant. And so I'm going to respond in the context of my argument. Because if you're doing a separate argument where the conclusion is Republicans would be justified, that's just not what we're here to talk about. We're about whether Democrats are justified. Now, you can ask the question, on your view, would Republicans using your argument be justified in reciprocal court?
If
you could ask that.
If your conclusion is true and the Democrats are going to expand the United States Supreme Court in the way that they have said openly that they're going to do you think the Republicans should take steps to prevent it?
Not on the lights of this argument. No, the argument doesn't.
Pisco, in real life, do you think the Republicans should take steps to prevent it?
Absolutely not, because
Why
it doesn't
not?
fulfill the argument.
See,
because it's not
this
justified.
Is, this
There's
is what
no
I
reason to
mean.
believe it's
This is what I
justified.
mean, Pisco. We're
No,
on
I'm
the
consistent. It's
we're
consistent.
on the verge of your party advocating for uniparty rule, and you want to talk about your syllogism.
Yeah, that's more rhetoric. I mean, like you can.
No, Pisco.
So you can.
It's exposing what matters.
tantrum
it's
if you want.
Exposing what matters and what doesn't matter, Pisco. What matters and what
we agree
doesn't
to talk
matter.
about doesn't matter.
What
says Ryan.
matters,
What we agree to
Pisco,
talk about doesn't
is
matter.
that in your premise 5, if we want to go back to the eternal critique, there's no reason to expect a severe consequence cascade. Judged by my reaction, Pisco, do you think there's a chance of a severe consequence cascade?
No, I don't.
You don't think so? You don't think that people who think the way I think view this as you signing your name to burn down the Constitution? I promise you they do.
I'm sure some people do.
So
but I just
how
don't-
would
I don't-
you possibly
They view that regardless.
How would you
I don't-
possibly prevent us from taking vicious reprisal?
Yeah, so like, I don't think that it will be if there are vicious reprisals. I think it will be like
I'm
superior
telling
to
you,
the
Piso,
status quo. So
I take
I,
your position as hostile to the existence of the Constitution. I take it as
in
that
virtue of
level of a
what?
threat.
In
So
virtue of what?
doesn't matter.
Why is it that?
It's my preference.
Why?
Doesn't matter. So
So
if
you don't have any reason to
if
believe
I
that. Okay.
take it that way and other people take it that way, and I promise you they do, how would you not expect a severe consequence cascade, Pisco? We're
Because I think
obviously
that,
going to get you back for this. Obviously.
yeah, I mean, like if you try to do that, I mean, like you can try a lot of different things.
How
And
would you
maybe
stop
even
us?
you maybe even you'll succeed on some of them. But I just don't think that,
Oh,
assuming that's true, just like I started with Mitch McConnell saying, we know what Democrats would do if hypothetically they were in the reverse position. You don't need a reason. You guys don't need a reason to be left off the
yeah.
chain. You guys are marauders and barbarians within our walls. You don't need a reason.
We're
You're gonna do what
marauders
you're
and
gonna do for
barbarians.
power. Yes,
And that's
right.
why
So,
we
I
ought
mean,
to be locked out
yeah.
of power, right, Pisco?
You no, you don't.
That's
you
why
don't.
we ought to be locked out of power, right?
So that's totally tangential to the argument. But just to be clear, you guys don't need a reason, right? So you guys will do the worst and most horrible thing, independent of anything, right?
I mean,
So that's
Pisco,
it's all
what
priced in.
you are.
That's why. Wait, I'm sticking to the premise of the argument. P5. There is no reason to expect a severe consequence cascade relative to the status quo because you guys are just always going to do the most horrible thing. It doesn't matter what we do.
And then what are you going to do to prevent it, Pisco?
Yeah, what we would do in the case in which there was no triggering incident to cause you guys to do that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, Ryan. After this response, I'm going to let Pisco go into his 5-minute closing statement,
Sure.
and then we'll go ahead and mute the
Sure. We can
the opposites
we can
whenever
go
they're
into
talking.
closings. That's fine.
It's been an hour, so I mean,
Yeah.
it's been entertaining.
Go ahead, Pisco.
Okay, yeah. So I think as you saw from the debate, it was pretty embarrassing. We came here agreeing on a particular proposition about Democrats expanding the Supreme Court. And rather than get into the argument that I prepared for the debate, which he knew about in advance, he wanted to get into personalities about what Pisco wants to destroy the world. He wants to like end civilization. I want to like just kill him or something or whatever. It was totally unclear. A lot of the things were just not topical, right? Like my positions on other issues. I'm happy to say that I would support Ro Khanna's plan. I don't shy away from that at all. I'm happy to do a conversation on that. I'm happy to talk about what we think for the Senate or, expanding the Senate for Puerto Rico and other places. We can schedule debates on that. I don't shy away from my positions at all. I'm proud of them. I think that they're justified. And when there's a particular debate that we schedule on one of those topics, that's what I want to debate. And I'm happy to say, and we can schedule whenever he wants to have a debate on those other matters. But as with respect to the proposition, there's just no reason to believe that the parade of horribles that he's talking about is going to come to fruition. There have been examples of court packs in this motivated by partisan reasons in this country's history in the U.S. Supreme Court. We didn't descend into the breakdown of the rule of law because of those court packs. That didn't occur. That's also happened in the context of state Supreme Courts. We didn't descend into a severe consequence cascade in Georgia, in Arizona, and in Utah. Have you heard any bit of empirical evidence for that claim? And if there is no reason to believe that there will be a severe consequence cascade, in fact, in my opinion, all of those consequences, or at least most of them, will be improved, right? Those conditions, that is to say, the public's view of the legitimacy of the court will be improved. The actual consistency of the rulings will be improved. The intermediate appellate courts and the district courts applying the rulings, that clarity will be improved. As a matter of just administration and caseload, that will be improved as well. So I don't actually think that there's a basis to believe that these severe consequence cascades could happen. And what we're left with is, I think, an intuitive moral notion that most people agree with and know, which is we ought to the extent possible, repair injuries that were done without justification, wrongs that were done, if it's possible to heal them in such a way as it doesn't create a set of collateral consequences where it doesn't create like some huge inequity. Then we want to do that, right? And that, I think, is intuitive to people, regardless of your moral framework and regardless of whether you specifically call it court packing. The one attempt to try to have an internal critique is on the Bork comparison that he brought up. And that just isn't a violation of established norm, that you can't consider things beyond the legal philosophy. And you can't, as one of the political branches in ruling people, you can't consider how they're likely to rule in a given outcome. I mean, give me a fucking break. That was at present since the starting of the country, whether it came to what Adams was doing or whether what the Republicans were doing after the Civil War, or what Andrew Jackson was partly doing. So that just is not borne out. This is like an established norm that you don't consider things beyond legal philosophy or with respect to particular rulings. That's not true. And also, it didn't change the composition of the court with respect to partisan interests. You still got Anthony Kennedy. And guess what? Democrats voted in Anthony Kennedy and Democrats voted in Clarence Thomas after. So it was a norm, right? That we give hearings to these people. It doesn't mean that there's a norm that you don't shoot down nominees or anything like that. The norm was the Senate actually exercised its authority in doing it advice and consent and not do a per se bar. That was a norm violation. And Democrats have the power, just as the Senate has the power to do its advice and consent with a norm violation. If we take control of the chambers under the neutral justification self-defense argument, we have the power, and I think the justification to come back. Now, it's not true that just because there's an injured party who is allowed to respond, in my view, justifiably, that the person that they're responding to gets another response. That's silly. If we're going to do this comparison to normal self-defense rules, there is a notion of an initial aggressor, right? There is a notion of just because you deploy self-defense doesn't mean the other offending party can continue, and we can just go back and forth like that justifiably, right? But even if that were the case, the Republicans did that, would be no worse off than we are now. Right now, we have a stacked Supreme Court through a norm violation, and Democrats are well within their rights to respond in kind. Now, you don't have to agree with a four-person packing of the court to get the 13 circuits, 13 justices. You don't have to agree with that. If you grant that it would just be justified one as recompense, then you're in favor of Democratic court expansion as a self-defense matter. And the argument by its own terms is neutral. I'll bite the bullet. If these conditions appeared for Republicans, they should respond in kind and expand the U.S. Supreme Court. That is repairing an injury that was done to the party. So, yeah, I think the argument goes through. And that's why Ryan spent all the time in the world trying to avoid the argument, trying to do anything but address it. When it did, even when he was doing an internal critique, trying to disclaim any relation to the argument, because the argument is sound. The argument is true. Or I should say, the argument is sound. The premises are true. And ultimately, when someone is banging their fist and saying, Pisco wants to destroy the country, Pisco wants to ruin my world of life, and that's why I lied. That's why I lied about the debate proposition. Doesn't really seem like that's very compelling to people who care about facts, logic, all that stuff. So I think I rest my case. I'm happy to do other debates in the future on particular plans or whether I want to destroy the country. But this was a pretty easy raffle stomping, and I'm frankly pretty disappointed in what he brought to bear.
All right, that was 5 minutes. Go ahead with your closing statement, and then we'll get into the Q&A. We do have some questions for both of you gentlemen. Oh, sorry, you got to unmute there, bud.
Better?
Mm-hmm.
This is about the heart and soul of the country. This is about what it means to stand up for our country when it is under direct assault by smug, virtuous people cloaking themselves. Oh, we're so good and you're so bad. And that's why we get to defend the most tyrannical nonsense possible. Pisco would not condemn a 13-seat pack because he favors it. He would not condemn packing the Senate because he favors it. These are things he favors. Pisco has been on multiple panels saying that if the court got to 100 members, he thinks that's better than the status quo. I read you the quote that he had. Take it for yourself. Pisco says that the Bork issue did not violate a fundamental norm. I invite you to Google it. It's a matter of public record. It's very easy to research it. He's flatly wrong. Pisco says that he wouldn't say whether he favors locking Republicans out of power, but he said that he wants them out of power for a long time, and he won't condemn any of the proposals that would do that exact thing. Pisco just talked about administrative reasons for packing to 13. Here's another quote from Pisco from another panel. This is from the 2v2 debate on his show with Pondering Politics, which he titled Total Domination. Quote, "We're the ones who are being honest. People like Doug Ducey," this is me paraphrasing, "who say they're court packing for, quote, administrative reasons in caseload. They are the liars. What we're saying is, yes, we are doing this for a partisan reason." Now suddenly he wants to talk about administrative burdens. Okay, sneak it in your closing if you want, Pisco, but everyone's heard what you have to say on this matter. The issue is this. For years, the Democrats have correctly, at times, pointed out the bad things that Trump has done. And I've been criticizing them because it appeared that they were using this to gather their strength to do something awful. And now that day has come. They are advocating for tyranny, open tyranny. And in the case of James Carville, they're advocating to deceive the voters about it. And here's how easy this is. Pisco, you can go on his Twitter, I don't need to quote him because I've quoted him enough, is in favor of the Democrats abolishing the filibuster if they get in power. He said it many times. Do you know how easy it is to get 2 more states into the Senate? Into the country? All you need to do under the Constitution is pass a law. So the Democrats get in power, they pass a law, expand the court to 13. All they need is a majority because they bust the filibuster like Pisco wants. Then these new states have extra votes in the Senate. Now they have a 4-seat cushion to protect themselves going forward, and they have a liberal court to protect them going forward. And if all of this is what Pisco and the Democrats support, I ask you, why wouldn't the Republicans nominate Justice Alex Jones and Justice Mike Liddell today? Because I think maybe they'll have something to say about the next election. If we're going to cross the red line and get to the point where people are using tactics that have not been used since the Civil War era, and they were not used since the Civil War era, because that's basically the last time it was appropriate, to do an unprecedented court pack in size and scope never before seen in this country, because I guess the Republicans are bad and they don't like them. They want to keep people in California and New York in power the way Pisco is described. That is tyranny. That is tyranny. And you and I and every American who values the Declaration of Independence, who cares about the values this country was founded on, ought do everything in our power to oppose them, because that is this magnitude and seriousness of what they are proposing. And Pisco knows it. That's why he wants to talk about syllogisms and hypothetical positions he doesn't hold, because he's hoping he can make tyranny and evil look banal and logical. He's hoping to distract you. But everybody saw what they actually want to do. Everybody saw. I yield my time.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys for spending some time here. We're going to get into the audience's questions.
Based.
And yeah, I think we got a good amount here. Should take up that 30 minutes, no problem. And
I think it's pronounced banal, by the way. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Sounded like you said anal.
Yeah. Did you have a clip last night where you talked about the erection?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
first comment is from Big League Drew for 5. He says, and he sends a string of them here. So,
Sure.
you guys keep your responses short and we'll hit all of them pretty quickly. First one is, and you're both allowed to respond if there's something
Sure.
particularly directed at the other. He says, laws aren't real. The justice system is an illusion, and SCOTUS is toothless and unwilling to act when it matters anyway. But the next one has a question, another for 5. It says, did you think it was correct when RBG was physically unable to fulfill her duties but refused to resign for political reasons? I'll let you guys answer that before I ask the next question.
Do I think it was so let me start with the first one. I don't agree that like law is meaningless, or I mean, I think the fact that people obey laws means that there's like some meaning to them, and I don't think that they're like real in the way that like a table might be real or something. But I guess I don't know what that's driving at. As to RBG, I think that she should have resigned under Obama. But yeah, I don't think that and I think in general, if we were in a normal state of affairs, I think in general, yeah, like if you're not capable to do the job, you shouldn't be in the job.
We didn't get into this, but if the Democrats are worried about the injury of her replacement, then Pisco's 100% correct. It's because she didn't resign. She could have resigned during Obama, and they would have been able to put up a nomination. She didn't. I agree with Pisco that on any partisan calculation, it was a wild mistake on her part.
Okay, here is Big League Drew's follow-up question for another 5. Appreciate your support, Drew. He says, do you think someone like Ketanji Brown Jackson, who can't even define what a woman is, should even be eligible to serve as a judge at any level?
Yeah, like you guys, I think, have this notion that words have like objective definitions or something, but it actually can be sometimes difficult to have a fully in scope definition for terms like that. So if you define women as equaling small gametes or large gametes, I should say, or having particular arrangements of reproductive organs or a particular chromosomes, then you run into a lot of problems in different cases in defining women and it not seeming to follow our intuitions. I'll give you an example. If you define women as the gender or the sex that has large gametes, it's possible on that view, and men who have small gametes, it's possible for men to give birth on that view, and there have been healthy births by men in that context. And so, I don't think it's at all problematic for a judge to to say basically, hang on, these terms can have multiple plausible meanings, and just saying something like adult female human or whatever, that doesn't really sort of deal with the cluster concept that is even the biological sex of woman, and even scientifically, I don't think it's a binary variable. And I have arguments for that. And I'm happy to debate anyone who disagrees.
Maybe another debate topic. Go ahead, Ryan.
The country is actually founded on words having objective meaning. If it's not, then phrases like all men are created equal suddenly become open to wild interpretation and misinterpretation, as people like Woodrow Wilson famously did when he started sterilizing people he thought were too dumb to reproduce. So there is real danger in leaders and justices not being able to articulate widely understood definitions for easy things and layups. But that's not actually the reason why Justice Jackson is a disaster. Justice Jackson's a disaster because she has articulated a vision of judicial supremacy by which the Supreme Court should, in fact, run roughshod over every other branch of government and ignore separation of powers. But at the same time, in the case, for example, DHS v. DVD, she sanctioned a lower court ignoring a Supreme Court order because she disagreed with the majority. So what she's arguing for is naked partisanship rather than law, and that's why she's a disaster. The woman thing was a good talking point, but it's actually the tip of the iceberg, not the actual problem.
Just real quick, I just follow up there. I'm sure I disagree with Ryan on whatever, or I probably do. I don't actually recall the opinion there. And I obviously take the view that like the conservatives are way more partisan hacks, especially and including Alito. But I just want to question, like, what do you mean by objective definition? Like, what is objective definition? The concept is incoherent to me. I don't understand it.
Well,
Objective definition.
Pisco, if you want to find out, I recently on my channel had a conversation with Lance Bush, who was, I think, the leading anti-realist philosopher in the YouTube space.
Where you talked about objective meanings to words?
Yes, I talked about objective morality. I talked about objective meaning, and he agreed that on my view, those are coherent and fine. So if you want to check it out, I have a video on my thing. We don't need to have a whole debate about it.
I did watch it. I just think that when people use things like objective meaning to mean something like intersubjectively true or standard, I think that that's like conceivable, but it's just like not tracking what the people who invoke these concepts of objectivity try to do. They try to like lord it over you as though there's some like normative weight or some like motivating reason that we should like accept the objective morality versus the non, to the extent that it's coherent.
One more response, and then I got to get two more follow-ups.
If I was able to convince the philosopher who articulates the talking points that you're repeating that my view is coherent, and he does not grant coherency in almost any context, by the way. He almost always says these things are incoherent, but my view, he said, was not incoherent, and he understood it as moral realism.
It's trivial, but just not motivated.
He didn't say trivial. That's one of his arguments, and he specifically didn't say that. So if you're interested in this topic, go watch the video on my channel or go watch it on Lance's channel. It's up. It's a very interesting conversation.
All right. Next one from Big League Drew was a follow-up that's okay. So there's two. One is a response to Pisco's statement to the first question. I'll just read that one first and then get to the other question that he has, which was okay, let me see. These got out of order for a second. So the very next one, in response to your question, or his question, your answer was what exact? Oh, he sent so many. Wow. Thank you, Big League. These are kind of sprinkled throughout. So I want to make sure I go back up to the top here. I have it on my computer. Okay, so he says, this man just said men can give birth. Disregard everything he has ever and or will ever say in the future.
So what I said was conditional on a notion of what a human female is. That's either dependent on whether it's large gametes or whether it's XX chromosomes. Such people that are not XX and who don't have large gametes have given birth. So if your definition of woman is a sufficient and necessary condition, XX chromosomes, then it's just a true scientific fact that people with XY chromosomes or who don't have large gametes have given live birth to healthy children. That is an undeniable fact. And that might trigger you, but that's just because you're a fucking idiot and you're using motivated reasoning and you get crushed in debate by me in it.
I mean, if Pisco can point to evidence of a small gamete producing human who gave birth, I'd be delighted to see it. I'm unaware of that ever happening in the history of human speech civilization, but maybe Pisco has some evidence. Either way, it's irrelevant to today. I do think the larger point is that when you're talking to somebody who is going to dive into the absolute minutia and try to get into this tiny ticky-tacky definitions in order to avoid
nice rhetoric,
the larger
attack,
point, then yeah, I think that you do know what they're up to. You do see what their game is. And I understand why he
You're
gave
just like
the chat
doing
because
noises to be like, don't
tonight.
like this guy. He's nitpicky. He's nitpicky. Don't like this guy.
No,
do you really think that that's like a good argument?
Okay, Pisco, let me be more clear. Don't like this guy because he's using bullshit law and bullshit philosophy to justify unjustifiable tyranny.
What bullshit law?
That's
bullshit
why you shouldn't like this guy.
What bullshit law?
Are there
you can't
more
substantiate that
comments?
at all? Yeah, you can't substantiate that at all.
All right,
I got more character with nothing.
I got tons of questions, guys. So Big League Drew's last $10 he sent in the first string of questions was, quote, whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government. When is this time and who gets to decide?
Yeah, no, I don't agree that it's the time now to abolish the government. I'm a conservative. I want to conserve this constitution and the order, the structure. That's why I support the reforms that I do. I am against the communists and the fascists and the Groypers who want to like tear down our foundation. I want to preserve the Constitution. That's why I support these measures. I think it'll help that.
Yeah. So this is again, Pisco's a conservative, I guess, the same way that Justice Jackson is an originalist. You can say if you just make words mean whatever you want, then you can say whatever you want.
Conserve the Republic and the Constitution.
I think that if you look at the Declaration of Independence, there's a statement of philosophy at the top, and then there's a list of specific grievances that justified the revolution. One of them was the King of England, has made judges dependent on his will alone. So yeah, I do think that when people are talking about the most partisan and most revolutionary, unprecedented court pack in history, followed quickly therein by packing the Senate, that does seem like we're getting dangerously close to this territory, which is why I'm taking it so seriously tonight.
Yeah, but like this has happened before. Two-court expansion has happened before.
When has a 4 happened, Pisco?
Yeah, but like you won't argue the 2.
But you support the 4 and won't defend it.
I do, but like, why don't you argue the 2?
Because the 2 is because the 4 is what the Democrats want to do, Pisco.
I know, but the proposition of the debate isn't about the 4. It's about expanding.
If it's not abundantly clear to you now, what I care about is
you're scared.
Real life. I care about real life.
What if I propose the 2?
Where the Democrats are proposing actual tyranny.
Would you support it too? Yes or no? Would you support
if the Democrats want to
would
disavow 13, then we'll talk about it too.
Yeah,
until
they
disavow 13.
We're gonna go on.
Interest in talking
We're
about
gonna
your
move on here because speaking of 2, Eddie Bombay sent $2 in quick answer. Pisco, do you condemn Hamas court packing?
Hamas court packing?
That's what he said.
I don't really know anything about their court packing, so I'm not sure.
All right.
They put you against the wall twice.
We'll move on here. This is, I think, the last 2 from 3. Okay, well, he sent quite a bit, so I'm gonna have to come back to Big League Drew so we can hit some other people's comments. But I do appreciate the support, buddy.
Sure.
X Natural Phenomenon sent 5. He says Ryan is pearl clutching because Dems want to pack the court while the GOP are the ones trying to lock Dems out of power. No Dem is as tyrannical as Trump.
Well, you know what? This is so easy for me to resolve because I can say I am opposed to the Republicans locking the Democrats out of power. Hey, Pisco, are you opposed to the Democrats locking the Republicans out of power?
If by locking out you mean legally preventing them from winning,
expanding the Senate, expanding the court, locking them out.
I don't view that as locking out. So for example, if we make Puerto Rico a state, in what sense is that locking Republicans out?
It gives you an extra 2 seats in the Senate, and you're doing it for purely partisan reasons.
So Ryan thinks it's a threat to democracy to give U.S. citizens who live in Puerto Rico the right to vote directly for president and for a member of Congress.
Okay,
so that's where we're at. Up is down, down is
Hey,
up.
Pisco, if we break Texas into 3 states so we get 6 more votes in the Senate, 4 states, let's make it 4 so we get 6. Would that be a problem for you?
No, I think that I would have a problem with devising it in such a way. So specifically, a state that where there's already representation, where people already have the vote, they are on equal terms as everyone else.
Oh, it's totally
to do that.
unfair. Texas is so big. Delaware
No,
gets
but
2. Texas should get 6.
Puerto Ricans don't have any votes.
Because they're not a state, Pisco.
Yeah. So I think that they should. You're like, it's against democracy to have more states.
Yeah.
I'm like,
okay.
You remember like Hawaii and Alaska and all these other states?
So
that was against democracy then, I'm sure.
So for those of you keeping score, Pisco favors packing to 13 and Pisco favors packing the Senate. Okay.
Wait. By packing the Senate, do you mean giving?
Yes,
states?
I mean for partisan reasons, which are overt and explained and Democrats like Harris have said they're doing it for partisan reasons. Then they are going to add these seats in order to lock Republicans out of the Senate.
No, that's principled. No, if Puerto Ricans were all Republicans, so if Puerto Ricans were all Republicans, I, unlike you, would support giving them representation.
Hey, Pisco, when in Utah,
wait, do you not agree?
In Utah, I do disagree, but in Utah, when they said we're packing the Utah court for administrative convenience, did you believe them?
No, I don't believe that Utah.
Okay, I don't believe the Democrats, Pisco, because it's bullshit.
You don't have to believe them. You don't have to believe them to support. You don't have to believe them to support a measure. And I'm asking you why, in virtue of why don't you support?
Because I think it is a partisan attempt to lock the Republicans out of power.
Why won't you? Why do you not support Puerto Ricans having a right to vote?
Because I think it is a partisan attempt to lock the Republicans out of power.
But do you think Republicans should be in favor of it?
No.
Wait, why?
Because I don't think that Puerto Rico should be in a state is necessarily a good idea, but that would be a whole other topic.
In virtue of what is it not a good idea? Oh, it's a whole other topic now. It's a whole other topic.
I don't know, Pisco, whether, for example, imposing U.S. law on minimum wage, on contracts, on a whole variety of other things would be a good idea in Puerto Rico. And furthermore, because they have a totally different economy than we do, Pisco, because there are problems. For example,
so does Texas. Voting for president or Congress.
A minimum wage on Guam, what happens?
A minimum wage? I don't fucking know.
It becomes illegal to work because nobody makes fucking minimum wage in Guam.
Yeah, I don't know. So there might be reasons to tailor your remedy so as not to destroy the economy of the given places. But in general, I think it's kind of weird that you're like, oh, I'm against giving representation to a place because their economy is different.
No, Pisco.
I guess that's true of the colonies.
We can move on after this.
I'm against giving representation to a place because it's clear that the entire purpose of the conversation is absolutely partisan power, which you have endorsed as a good rationale in multiple conversations.
Well, it's overdetermined. It's a good idea because it helps Democrats in my view, but it's also more foundationally and it's an independent rationale because they deserve to have sovereignty, the people of Puerto Rico.
All right, so this next one here, kicking it back over to Pisco. Leningrad since 5, he says, Pisco, can you engage with the necessary entailments of your argument without dismissing them as irrelevant to the letter of the argument?
I absolutely can. Yeah, no, I absolutely can deal with the necessary entailments of the argument. And I don't know. What are you raising that's a problematic necessary entailment? If you don't spell out what the problematic necessary entailment is, then I don't understand or the thing that's such an absurd consequence, then I can't really respond to it. I don't think that maybe there is. Maybe we can work together to find some absurd situation. But I don't think Ryan's done a good job of showing what the absurd necessary entailments are.
Pisco has said that the consequence cascade won't happen. And the reason that he said that is because he believes the status quo is so horrible that even if you get to 100-member Supreme Court, as Brad Palumbo said, it would be virtuous because 100-member Supreme Court would be better than the status quo. So go watch the conversations he's had. He's had multiple conversations. It's all documented.
Yeah. So like
Pisco has gone on record saying that it would be radical not to pack the Supreme Court because he thinks the status quo is that terrible. So if he thinks the status quo is that terrible, then okay, I guess he just doesn't care about the consequence cascade. But yeah, I think it obviously would be a consequence cascade. The only way to prevent it would be to lock the Republicans out of power.
Yeah, but no. So this is what I would look for evidence of a consequence cascade, right? things like this happening before and causing that. Right?
Nothing like this has ever happened before.
No,
Pisco.
but that's on your assumption. That's a 4-person pack, which isn't entailed in the proposition.
It is the thing the Democrats want to do.
No, but that's not what we're here to debate, Ryan.
But
you
Pisco, I don't
like,
care about your argument.
All right, put that aside. All right, I heard it.
Or your non.
You don't care. You don't care about lying. You don't care about.
Yeah,
you don't care about the president. Okay,
I don't care. I'm here to defend the country, not talk about your nonsense.
You're not here to actually debate the proposition. Got it. Yeah, we all understand that. So, putting that aside, right? I would look to historical evidence of like similar things causing this. I would look to contemporary examples of state Supreme Court packs where such things have occurred. I would point to some kind of like data or something, or some kind of like strong intuitive feeling, perhaps, that I would share. But there was nothing like that on offer. It was just like, this hasn't happened before, therefore it will happen. I just don't understand why that's compelling.
Ryan, quick response, because the next one's for you here.
This is exactly the game, right? Pisco wants to not debate the 4, which is the thing the Democrats want to do, because he knows that's unprecedented, and then say, hey, you can't show historic evidence that this unprecedented, never before done thing that we're planning to do will have a bad effect, because of course it's never happened, so I can't have historic evidence because it's never happened before. And then he's going to retreat to this, but what hypothetically if we did this 2-seat thing that I actually think
you agreed to the topic,
and that the Democrats don't actually support.
You agreed to the topic.
This is,
why are you crying? You agreed to it.
What Pisco's doing. He is sane washing tyranny, and he knows better.
You agreed to the topic, and then you lied about it, and now you're crying. Why won't you debate something different? I'll schedule that with you.
Next question here. Big League sends another 5. He says, Ryan, you keep saying tyranny, but democracy is tyranny. Do you also reject democracy?
Democracy is not tyranny necessarily. It's tyranny if it infringes on natural rights, and there's some other criteria. If it becomes arbitrary, if it becomes one party, if it becomes if there's no method for the minority to have any representation. There are ways that democracy can become tyrannical. It's not inherently tyrannical, though it can devolve into tyranny pretty easily if you're not careful.
This is a really good question, because the reason I started with the Mitch McConnell quote about the people getting to say, right? The whole argument for the non-hearings of Merrick Garland is the people should have a say on the future of the Supreme Court. Well, if you hold to that, if Mitch McConnell was right about that, and if it's not problematic to have that be an incentive, why wouldn't the people's representatives, through bicameralism and presentment to the president, why shouldn't they have a say about the composition of the court? That was Mitch McConnell's rationale. So, if you think that there's something inherently tyrannical about having the court being more responsive to the democracy, talk to Mitch McConnell, but we are going to respond in kind according to the neutral self-defense principle that I laid out.
Watch the game. We want it to be responsive to the people. But again, as I just said, if you take away the safeguards, then democracy, I agree with the super chat, can become tyrannical. So what's Pisco want to do? Oh, yes, let's have bicameralism and presentment. Let's put it through the proper process. But before we do that, let's get 4 more seats for the Democrats in the Senate. Let's abolish the filibuster to get rid of the procedural protections, and then we'll do the process. Yes, this will prevent the 51% from voting to beat the 49% forever with sticks. This is the democracy Pisco envisions. The one where, as he said to Destiny, the people in California and New York get to run the country as Pisco prefers.
All right, so this next one, Mr. Far from Jordan for 5. He says, moderator is MIA. Why is every other word from Ryan 13? Unhinged performance from Ryan. Waste of time and breath. A new low. I appreciate that.
I think people understand that, like, a debate is when you're supposed to debate like a topic. We agree to that topic. And you can be like, but he's sticking to the topic. That's bad. I'm just like, okay, then watch Ryan give a speech or something. I mean, I came here for a fucking debate. I don't want to be like in the position of trying to stay to the norms of debate and being accused of, like, I don't know, being shifty or a liar when Ryan's just being a bitch and not addressing the argument.
I came here to expose you as a snake who wants to impose tyrannical restrictions on the country, and I did. That's why I came.
Understandable perspectives. I definitely try to do my best
Ryan
here.
Being a bitch is an understandable perspective.
No, that's not what I said. Just how you both can come to the conclusions that you do. For me, I understand how me kind of stepping back and waiting to be called in on a couple of those moments, can be a little frustrating for some people in the chat that thinks I should be a little bit more hands-on than an open dialogue typically calls for. But absolutely take all criticism as best I can personally. One other thing, guys. There is probably not enough time to get to everyone's super chats, so we'll from this point on just gonna have to take some 20s and up. But I'm gonna read all the ones that come before
Sure.
where we're at right now.
You guys are cleaning up over there.
Yeah.
So we got Even Lord for this is for kind of Ryan, I guess. He said, Ryan, amazing job making Destiny rage quit on Nor.
Appreciate you, buddy. That was funny as hell.
Wait, but I watched some of that, and it was actually another pathetic performance. Because like at a certain point, Ryan was like 9-0, 9-0, 9-0, 9-0, as though that were a legal argument, and then making like just like questions about realism and whether the court actually would, in a given hypothetical, address it in a given way, just in virtue of like what you think the consequences would be. So again, examples of like non-relevant arguments that don't deal with like the legal merits of stuff.
Oh, if we want,
it's like
if
evident.
we want to talk about the
We should do a
9-0
section 3.
If
yeah,
we want
let's
to
do
talk about
section
the
3.
9-0, that's
let's do
fun. Pisco is so extreme that he actually thinks that the liberal justices who voted 9-0 in favor of not letting states take
Dead
precedence
wrong,
off
yeah,
the ballot
obviously.
were dead wrong. Maybe packing to 13 is not going to be enough for him. Maybe he needs to pack to 17 or 18 just
Wait,
so that he can
that's
get
evidence
he can
to show
wash
that
out
I'm good
those liberal
faith.
justices.
Wait a second.
Because
That's evidence that shows that I'm good faith.
Too.
Wait a
God
second.
damn,
that's evidence
please.
that
Let's
that's
go
evidence
straight
that
to
shows
20,
that I'm
Pisco.
good
Let's make it a
faith.
nice round
Right.
number.
So the fact that I disagree with liberal justices from time to time shows that I'm good faith, right? Like the fact that the kind of packing that is on offer here wouldn't entail particular overturnings of views that I think are some of the most egregious opinions ever means that I'm good. I'm not just trying to like center on specific opinions with the exclusive goal of trying to overturn them. And that's not what it's entail. I mean, I would support this even if I knew that we weren't going to overturn Trump versus United States, even if we weren't going to overturn Anderson or Dobbs or any of these decisions. It has to do with the argument that I presented.
Pisco, okay, again, guys, you can go watch what he said in his total domination debate at minute 4 hours in, 11 minutes, it looks like. He said his arguments, quote, arguments on reform and expansion of the court are at their peak, at their maximum, when we are concerned about separation of powers, because that's what the court has fucked up the most. They have totally skewed the proper separation of power on appropriations, on holding executive branch officers accountable as a matter of immigration law. And then he goes on specifically to mention the 9-0 Section 3 case as one of the examples where the court fucked up, justifying
of course
reform. But I
stand by everything I said there. I stand by every single thing.
That's why I think Pisco and 9, packing to 13 might not be good enough for you. You got to wash out those damn liberal 3 who voted. It's all about in favor of Trump.
No, it's about percentages. It's about percentages. That's what we care about. That's
it's your quote, Pisco. You listed it.
But I agree with my own quote, and you misinterpreted, by the way, the other quote. You keep doing it, and I have to assume now you're lying because I just explained to you and what I meant and what is evident from the evidence, where I was saying the virtuous aspect before he said the thing about the 100 justices.
Pisco,
I knowingly lying.
I don't have to accept your post-hack justification.
It's not post hoc at all. That's clearly what I meant. And
people heard.
If you watch my explanation.
People heard what I said. People heard what I said. The video's live. They can
You're quote mining
themselves.
in a dishonest way.
I gave the timestamps. People can find the videos. He said what he said.
We got to move on because I do want to circle back to some of the ones in the beginning where there were multiple.
Are you going to like take back the accusation of Josiah and Wick colluding to take you off of that panel?
Fuck no.
Yeah, because you'll just accuse people without any evidence, right? You'll accuse people of stuff and you have no shame whatsoever.
Josiah
I read all those texts. There was no collusion.
Josiah knows
you're a worm, man.
If they let me on the panel, the same thing would have happened to him that
you're a
happened
worm
to you tonight.
So you levy accusations about evidence.
We're gonna move on here. We're gonna move on here. Jacob Foreman for 10. You might want to address this, Pisco, because he is claiming you are a power-hungry bastard, just like the rest of the Democrats. Republicans won't even pass a voting integrity bill because they are afraid of power. You're a joke.
Yeah, no. I mean, like, if your read on the relative parties is that the Democrats are the ones who are power hungry and like most norm violating, then you're just like, I think, totally lost. The Democrats, if anything, I think, are far too weak when it comes to having accountability and structural reform needed to guard our republic. And no, my argument that I levied here is neutral in its terms. The only way in which it inures to the benefit of the Democrats is that the injured party, as a result of the initial violation here, was the Democrats. That's why, just in the same way as if someone attacks you, right? The benefit of self-defense is given to the defender and not to the attacker. And that should be understandable to people who comprehend basic self-defense.
Well,
Okay,
I feel pretty attacked with all this Senate packing and court packing coming from the Democrats. Better defend myself.
Okay, Ryan, we got one for you too here. C Gotch 87. I'm trying to go back and forth here like a kind of like a zigzag. Ryan needs another Crucible debate course. This is just sad from him, from C Gotch 87.
I appreciate that. I think actually, if you go back and watch my debates, you'll see that I never take this approach. And one of the questions that you might ask yourself is, why would I do it here and never before? Never before have I taken this approach. And the reason is,
have I not addressed the prompt and lied about it?
Because the gravity of the situation demands exposing what is actually happening here.
I've never been totally irrelevant and horrible and embarrassing before. I did this because I needed to do a meta little performance for the Facebook dads.
Okay, we got to circle back here. Big League Drew asks, to both, how long has your family been living in the United States?
A real long time. Depends on which side. I don't quite know off the top of my head how many generations. It's and it forks quite a bit. So depending on which side of the family tree, between like one and many generations, there's a mix.
And the quick follow-up before Pisco answers, this is also to both. How do you think you'd feel if you didn't eat breakfast today?
Normally hungry, but I pretty ramped up on adrenaline right now, so I don't think I'd notice.
All right, go ahead, Pisco.
I did have breakfast, and so I can't answer that question. I did have breakfast. As to the longevity, I was born in this country. I'm first generation. My parents were not. I'm not going to get into how many years, but I was born here.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys getting that answered. Big League Drew has been on one with the questions here, which we appreciate. Truth or Volt TV for 5 says, James, step in and do something about this trash debate. Why should I stay subscribed when you bring on low tier debaters? I don't get to decide how people choose to debate on the thing. I can just say, is that a concession, or let's stay on the topic, and then after that, that's kind of what it.
I think you did fine with moderation.
Appreciate it. Everybody's gonna have an angle. I'm trying to be fair as possible. Mr. Far from Jordan for 2 says, what is Ryan taking a no position on?
I'm taking a no on the Democrats should not enact a plan that they have announced publicly to pack the court to 13, pack the Senate, and lock the Republicans out of power, which they apparently plan to do and which Pisco can't even disavow. I'm taking a no on that.
That's one of the plans. Wait a second. That's one of the plans that I support. First of all, it's not the Democrats' plan. It's one guy and like a couple other people. That's Ro Khanna. So first of all, you're just misconstruing what the plan is and giving it this like air of importance. And number 2, that's not the proposition of the debate. So we can't even get a clear answer on whether Ryan disagrees with the debate proposition. That's insane.
Yeah.
We're past the end of the Q&A and we don't even know your perspective on the proposition.
Let's burn the country down and worry about the syllogism and the proposition. Got any more?
He also
it's just very funny. Like, you don't even care to express your opinion on the fucking proposition of the debate.
I don't give a shit about the proposition, Pisco. I told you what I give a shit about, which is exposing what you are doing.
The Democrat plan. Ro Khanna, one guy. He speaks for all Democrats.
And Pico specifically exposing that what you are doing, which I think is dramatically inappropriate and dangerous for the country. And I think that I was able to explain that to people tonight, and I hope they heard me.
One Ro Khanna represents I'm bound to argue only what Ro Khanna ever says on anything. I can't disagree with Ro Khanna or take a different view.
Ro Khanna, Kamala Harris, Warren, Buttigieg.
Kamala Harris didn't announce her support of the Ro Khanna plan. You're just lying.
She said,
you don't know that.
She said 13. She said she said add Puerto Rico.
She didn't commit to that. If she did, I would have tweeted about it.
And then we got James Carville saying the Democrats should keep it secret. They shouldn't even tell people about it. They should just
that, of course, means I have to lie and not care about what I agreed to do. Yes.
All right. Leningrad for 5 says, Pisco, rhetoric and derail is when you dismiss the conclusions of your arguments as irrelevant debate bro tactics.
No. So rhetoric is when you are basically just trying to appeal to the masses with attacks on my character that aren't relevant to the debate. Whether or not I'm trying to bring about the end of the Republic me personally, isn't relevant to the argument. And no thinking and honest person thinks that it is. And being unwilling to actually address the debate proposition, I think, is almost definitionally bad faith. And so I think that that was totally appropriate to label it rhetoric. I mean, what else would it be?
Imagine you're at a crossroads where you have the opportunity as a member of a profession with some expertise in the area to stand up and articulate a great moral evil being perpetrated by people who try to dress it up in thin syllogisms and BS distractions, and then say, ought I do that? Or ought I play semantic games with these people? I think it's pretty clear why I did what I did.
Ryan, do a speech. Don't waste
just
all of our
did.
times. No, but like, why waste my time? Why waste everyone's time?
Because you're the one doing the evil thing, and it was useful to get you here because nobody else would do it, Pisco. I got locked out of a whole bunch of panels, Pisco.
No,
nobody
you didn't.
else
That's your
wanted to
conspiracies.
do it. So here
you think you're that guy, but you're
the
not
one
that
who
guy.
won the
Clearly,
prize,
you're
Pisco.
not that guy. You're not that guy. And I think more people should just bring you on their shows to show the poverty of your thought and that you're unwilling to address the merits of arguments.
Well, Pisco, I can always tell when I win because when Josiah shows up to console you about all the terrible things that I did. So I'm sure.
In what sense did you win?
I'm sure that I'll have a great time tonight.
You don't care about the debate proposition. How could you win after saying that?
Because, Pisco, winning the debate isn't what I was trying to do. Next one.
Yeah,
I was trying to be.
This is kind of what we're talking about right now, I guess. Darude Boy for 10 says Ryan is terrified to actually debate the prompt. Don't fall for his derail, Pisco.
Well, I think we talked about that sufficiently. If I need to add more, I can, but I think we just talked about that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And then David Woodman C for 10 says, Pisco, your first premise is false on its face. There was no harm done to Democrats. Put that in quotes. They would have no standing to seek a claim.
He doesn't understand the first premise. The first premise is a conditional if X. So he doesn't even understand the argument, right? So like it's the if you had breakfast thing. We just saw it, right? Whoever just super chatted to you said that's not the premise, right? So that you would have to take issue with. The premise that you would have to take issue with is whether or not Democrats were the injured party. That's a separate premise in the argument. And it's obvious that Democrats were the injured party with relation to the Merrick Garland seat. Now you can say that's not objective, true definitional court packing. I mean, you can call it whatever you want, court packing, court schmacking. I think that the argument stands on its own 2 feet on the notion of court packing that I presented about irregular and actively driven changes to the composition of the court. And on that, it follows.
All right. If you want a quick response, otherwise I'm just going to move on to the next one. We read that. Okay. To Credible Hulk for 10 says, fully elucidating the intentions behind your position is not a personal attack. Crying for the moderator when Ryan provides examples of your biases is bad form and worth an instantaneous debate loss.
Wait. So how is my intent relevant to the debate proposition the Democrats should expand the court? How is that relevant? It's not relevant, guys. So stop coping. This is the kind of shit that people like Andrew Wilson and whoever the school of debate people do, where they think these kind of like optical or just attack on people's character are de facto relevant. They're obviously not. I could be the worst person in the world. It could be a robot giving these arguments, and the arguments speak for themselves. That's what should be addressed and not the personalities.
The issue that I came here to talk about is a plan that the Democrats appear to be coalescing around, justified by the thin veneer of Trump bad, and justified by Pisco tonight by his implication because he won't condemn it because he supports it. So I think that's worth talking about, but we've explained this over and over again.
Next up is Bless My Vibe Code for 10. Folks, this is why politics is so ruined. These are just 2 lawyers. Imagine an entire Congress of these types of personalities, which we have. That's why it's gotten so bad. Notice the parallels?
Lawyers do ruin everything.
I don't think that, unlike Ryan, or maybe, I don't know, people have this vaulted sense of the legal profession. And I think at its best, it deserves that praise. But just because someone's a lawyer doesn't mean that they're a good person or a smart person. And so I try to resist people who be oh, he's a lawyer. He's as though that's really that special. It's not that hard to be a lawyer.
All right. Lenny Grad for 10. Lenny, I'm going to have to move on from some of your comments. I want to make sure everybody who sent a little bit of these larger ones gets read. Pisco, did you convert to Islam or did you learn Takia all by yourself? All on your own, sorry.
I've heard Takia because that was I think Adam Sosnick or something. I heard that one time and it made me laugh. No, I'm not Muslim. I don't believe in Islam. Yeah, I don't support Islam as a religious precept, so I'm not Muslim.
All right. Blasterbot Y2UK for 20. Appreciate you. Says Pisco can't actually defend his position. He and his party hold, so he wants to argue positions they don't hold. What a weak person who is willing to sell out everything for just an optical win.
So we can schedule a debate on the Ro Khanna proposition, and I'm happy to do that, and I'm willing to defend it. But I'm here to defend something that was agreed to, and that's a court expansion of any amount, right? It's just Democrat court expansion. And so given that, I think it's much, both in terms of the flow of the conversation, it simplifies a lot of things to start small and see where we disagree and where we agree. That makes total sense. No one's scared to defend that. And for you to construe it as the Democratic proposal, it's just not true. That is one member. It would be like saying, by the way, if Massey proposes something, it's the Republican proposal, right? It would be no different than that. It does not have the imprimatur of the entire
Harris,
party.
Ro Khanna. There's been multiple prominent Democrats who say it.
Explained, Harris has not endorsed it. Harris has not endorsed it.
You won't defend it, and
I'm willing to defend it.
And
I'm willing to defend
you support any number of horrifying positions that I've articulated tonight. I think that's worth talking about, Pisco. I think that's worth exposing. And by the way, about the debate prompt, just to be clear, your original prompt was the Democrats are justified in expanding the court by 1 seat. I said I am not debating that prompt and removed the by 1 seat language. And then you said to me, that's how I take it. And I said, you can take it any way you want, Pisco.
No, but
I made it as
expansion,
clear as
a
possible
Democratic expansion
that I was not going to debate the
increasing something is expanding it, Ryan.
And expanding to 13 is expanding it, Pisco.
I know, but the notion of expansion isn't limited to just one.
You told me
metric.
how you took the prompt, and I said you can take it any way you want. If you were not prepared for me to talk about your positions, that's on you, buddy.
Wait a second. So notice this is more bad faith, though, right? So they're
public tweets.
He's
you can
recounting, he's recounting an exchange in which I was trying to be clear and dial in my semantics to make sure that we were. And he's like, I would rather things be unclear. I would rather not agree beforehand about what we're debating. I'd rather keep it ambiguous. And when I was clear, this is like what we're here to debate, and that's what expansion means. Is if you expand by 1, it's expansion definitionally. He's like, I don't care about your attempt to clarify semantics. I want to keep it vague, ambiguous, and he doesn't even tell you his disposition on the prompt of the debate. In what sense can he say
I told you, Pisco, you could take it any way you wanted. It's a shame you didn't want to defend your positions.
Real quick, chat. I am ending the poll right now. If you guys want to go see what that was for who had the more persuasive arguments this evening, that's in there. I think 268 people voted. And then I'm going to start another poll. And this one, I'll let you guys know, debaters, in advance. Who would you rather have as a lawyer?
That's a good one.
And so if you guys are in either party and you want to go vote for your guy, that's going to be in there.
Mods, put in a fucking poll in our chat. We'll see who won the debate.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Personal.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you care about, right? You're like,
personal audience polls.
These two people in the Word War debate audience, they won. Like, oh yes, I love this.
Pisco, I can't believe you besmirched the Word War debate audience. That that's only 2 people.
Sorry,
what a crazy thing to say.
Thing, right?
Ben Swan, he's like a dashing man. I know that he's like an RT guy, but very, very dashing.
Okay, Herdo, how do you say this name? Herdock Hornapi for 5 says mod prop for the justification of adding 4 justices is in the same vein as the justification for Dems to expand the judiciary. Ryan is not deflecting.
It's literally a deflection. Yeah. So guys, it's not that hard, right? So numbers are numbers, right? So if there's at least one expansion that is different than an expansion of 4, then definitionally they're a different prompt. It's a subset of the possible expansions. And the debate proposition is Democrats are justified in expansion. It doesn't say in all subsets, but just minimally, right? Whatever it would take to minimally be an expansion. So you're just wrong, whoever said that. I don't know where you're getting these comments.
Can I get a confirm on your side? The poll's 84-14.
16 is what I have.
Oh, 8416. Okay, appreciate that.
Yes, sir. The next one here, we're about to get into just some of the bigger ones. Since I hit that point of 20 and up, so I'm gonna read the last like 3 of the 10s, and then we're just gonna hit those big ones and then get ready to call it here soon. Alex Orthodoxy for 10 says, Pisco says words have no objective meaning. So in his paradigm, his arguments have no objective meaning. Ergo, Pisco hasn't even shown a prima facie case and loses for not meeting his initial burden.
So this is what you get when you have all these pre-suppers doing this objective definition thing. You guys are like realists about language. I think that's one of the cringiest, like indecipherable positions you could ever have, that like the word water just objectively means H2O, right? The word, it just like they're just utterances, right? I could assign any utterance to a given concept, okay? And you guys are like, oh, you don't ground your axioms. You don't ground it. And this is all stupid bullshit.
And that's why nobody trusts your side to protect our rights, because you don't think they mean anything.
No, no one's saying they don't mean anything. They just don't. When
you just said
objective, no, the notion of objective meaning to utterance. What the fuck does that mean?
That's why. That's why we don't.
What is an objective definition? What's an objective definition? Explain it,
Pisco. I know you'd like to get into a new debate.
Sophist.
It's
right, we got to power through these, guys. We got to power through these. X Natural Phenomenon sent another one. He says Ryan is a fraud and using his law degree to support Trump's power grab. He's projecting onto Pisco. Ryan grandstands and lies and runs from the top.
I mean, he can say whatever he wants. I appreciate you donating. I made my positions on a variety of topics very clear. I agree with Trump a lot of the time. I disagree with him a lot of the time. I voted for him 0 times. So make of that what you will.
Heard. We got some 20 supers coming in. Big League Drew says, first gen anchor baby thinks men give birth and wants to change the government. For the record, my family's been here since 1751. I think only, but not all women can give birth, but I'm the effing idiot. Got it.
Yeah, you are an idiot. And let's schedule a debate on modern day debate. If you want to debate actually what a woman is, I think you get crushed.
1751 has no objective meaning anyway.
Explain what objective meaning is. Explain what objective meaning is.
We got a few more comments.
He's so smug. Oh,
yeah.
No, I know.
Yeah,
like that's not convincing anybody.
Yeah, peace.
Objective meaning, you don't even know it. And I can't even like say one sentence about what objective meaning is.
So we got Rob Noor making a comment here for 10. He says, I don't want to skip this one because I know you guys are kind of all in the debate sphere.
Rob and I host a show every other Monday. Check it out. Law and Order.
Okay.
Best law and politics on the internet.
I didn't know you guys had.
That's where Ryan will condemn James Comey's investigation or the indictment because it was bad strategically.
And actually, if you know the lore, my opposition to political prosecutions was so severe that Rob and I had a falling out, and it canceled the show temporarily. So yeah, Rob and I fight about that issue a lot. Sometimes we fight about it publicly, sometimes we fight about it privately, but we fight about that all the time. It's actually one of our most substantive points of disagreement. But by the way, and I told Rob this, I support the conflict in Iran. Rob doesn't. I oppose political prosecutions. Rob thinks there should be more political prosecutions. I would take a fat L on every single one of my disagreements with Rob to prevent you lunatics from packing the court.
All right, well, let's get to Rob's question real quick. Pisco says we don't allow the group after repairing the injury to retaliate. Then if Bork was a norm violation, it was, then ours were justified and Dems aren't to retaliate by adding court seats.
Yeah, but the truth is, I deny that it was a norm violation, and I deny that it changed the composition of the court in with respect to the argument's definition of court packing. So we disagree on the facts there. Yeah,
I didn't see he sent a one before that. He said, Pisco, if Republicans will do the worst thing no matter what, why didn't they add 4 justices? It's clear you are partisan and merely want to change the depth.
It's called hyperbole. It's called
of court packing to justify your.
It's called hyperbole. It's called hyperbole. I just mean you don't need an inciting thing to do something bad. I don't mean maximally bad, literally. It's called hyperbole.
All right. I'm looking for that other one you said I missed, Alex. You said it was back to back. Okay. Alex says, as a litigator myself, this is Alex Orthodoxy. He's also a lawyer. As a litigator myself, Pisco buddy, I say this out of love for you. Go back to Advocacy 101. Ryan delivered a masterclass. Ryan, very well done.
A masterclass. I don't give a shit about what we're here to debate.
And then I appreciate you giving me a W as well. I always take it as I'm an intro to moderating by just being on this channel.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate the comment. And if you want to check out my stuff, Natural Law with Ryan Mullally.
And then we got a guy who just wants to talk about how this debate showed up in his feed. This is Dartho Mass. So this was just random, I guess. He said, not sure why it did, but it popped up in my feed and I'm glad it did. I'm just bitter. I didn't have a bowl of popcorn in front of me while enjoying the show. And then Ryan, he asked about where's your YouTube. So I think you just shouted that out so he can.
Yeah, Natural Law with Ryan Mullally, Ryan C. Mullally on YouTube and X. Easy to find.
I have a super chat from Fumbungo. Ryan appealing to the emotional tomato face Facebook dads in chat. LeMayo.
Oh,
any response?
Pisco, I don't think you want me to read my super chats about you, so maybe I won't.
Okay. We're almost done with these last couple here. Appreciate you guys giving me the extra time. I think it was John Aria Smith for 20 says Ryan may argue better, but I feel like Pisco would do all the slimy things I needed to win. I vote Pisco for my lawyer, but Ryan for the debate.
What is slimy about? I'm just trying to address the proposition. Like, that's slimy.
Yeah,
John Aria,
actually
define that.
My favorite comment in my chat, I don't think it was a super, but on that comment,
we both get one.
Yeah,
we both get one.
Okay.
On the topic of who would be their lawyer, they said Ryan if I'm innocent, Pisco if I'm guilty. I think that actually sums up the debate pretty well.
Okay, all right.
Abers09 since 20 says Pisco, which small gamete person gave birth? Never heard of him.
I don't have the exact name, but there's a scientific paper on it, and I produced it before in other debates.
And then Bo Teasel since 20 and asks,
or at least I'm pretty sure that's true. And if it's not true, it's someone in the absence of large gametes who did it. But I think that it's a Sawyer syndrome case. But they're multiple, I think, actually. But yeah.
This one's very philosophical for you, Pisco. Is water wet?
I don't know where I lie on this.
I mean, whoever knows what water is.
I think it depends what you mean by wet.
Yeah, it depends what you mean by water and depends what you mean by wet. It's an unanswerable question.
By water, I mean, I guess I would mean like the molecule H2O or whatever. And by wet, I think wet is the property of having like water near you or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
the definition.
God, that's a tough question.
Guys, I don't know what these joules are, but or if I'm supposed to enter or exit a flow state, if that's the one you selected. So I wish that there's no clarity on that. So here's a more on topic serious one from Bo Teasel, who just asked if water was wet. Pisco, if adding justices and adding Puerto Rico would not lock Republicans out of power, what then prevents Republicans from adding justices next time?
If we mean prevent, mean like legally lock the door behind you, nothing. I don't think that it necessarily there's a legal mechanism to lock the door behind what I'm proposing here. But certainly what Ryan is saying about Puerto Rico and this is not locking Republicans out of power. Give me a break. When I said what I said about in order to fix the Republican Party, they need to be out of power for 10 years. I was speaking politically, not in terms of infringing on their rights, not in terms of trying to make it so that democracy doesn't exist in these places. Republicans have so many structural advantages, even in the context of Puerto Rico people finally having a vote and being a state. They, of course, would have plenty of opportunities to win states and win elections and win the presidency. It's just ridiculous to think that I'm arguing for a one-party state. Always.
Yeah, but by that
legal matter,
by that logic, gerrymanders have no effect. I get it, Pisco. You know, nothing means
nothing
means anything. We just we pack the Senate.
Aren't you in favor of Rucho versus Common Cause?
Here's the
aren't you in? Sorry,
here's the real rub.
Aren't you in favor of Rucho versus Common Cause? Can you answer that?
Here's the real rub about Pisco's point. Anything to distract from the actual thing he wants to do, which is make it as hard as possible for Republicans to regain power. Maybe that's a lock. Maybe it's not. Who knows? Words have no meaning. So there's no real point in talking about that. But the point that the Super Chat made that's dead on is if you fail to lock the Republicans out of power after doing all that, they sure as shit will return the favor, which will create the consequence cascade that invalidates your argument. The only reason it won't is because Pisco thinks that the status quo is so horrible that he prefers that oscillation. So, decide
the oscillation
for yourself
is not
if you
entailed.
prefer to live in a world where we're going through reciprocal court packing.
Yeah, the oscillation is not entailed, and I just don't think there's any support or evidence for Ryan's position that if Republicans were getting back in power and to reciprocate, that it would lead to the whatever he's saying the consequence is. He just has no empirical basis to claim that.
If the Republicans get in power, they'll just forget about it. They won't reciprocate because they're such lovely people.
No.
And then when the Democrats have it happen to them, they won't reciprocate. The common human nature understanding is that when you escalate in this way, people will escalate unless they are
why didn't it happen
prevented from escalating.
Georgia? Because why didn't it happen in Georgia? Why didn't it happen in Arizona? Why didn't it happen in Utah? Why did it not happen
these are
in the 1860s?
these are very recent examples, and
why didn't it happen in the 1860s?
And the thing you want to do federally is unprecedented.
Why didn't it happen in 1868?
Unprecedented.
Why didn't the tit for tat happen in 1869?
Because what you want to do isn't what happened back then. You want to do something unprecedented. So
wait,
yes,
a two-court expansion.
You don't want a two-court expansion, you idiot.
But what a two-court?
You want a four-court expansion.
What a two-court expansion?
What a two-court expansion? Because you're going on a debate circuit.
So here's the question for you, Ryan. We're almost there.
Actual politics.
We're almost there. So
last response, and then I got to move on real quick.
Yeah.
Would a two-justice expansion result in the inevitable?
Utterly uninterested in your point, Pisco. What I'm interested in is the fact that you are trying to sane wash the unjustifiable.
Meta.
Lost in Highway, I'm not moderating their responses necessarily at the end here. So this isn't the debate anymore. This is talking with you guys. And then sometimes they can continue on their own talks here. So I'm giving them tons of time.
Sure.
Andrew Pakaczynski says to Mullally. Oh man, it already slipped me again.
It's all good. Mullally. Yeah.
Mullally. Is it not true that if you're in favor of reactionary / preemptive court packing, then you are in favor of court packing, right?
Yes. That's what I was trying to get to.
I mean, I think that this is the reason why this is a norm and this is a red line that ought not be crossed is because if you do, then you end up in this cascading situation that I described. But if we're going to get in that situation, if we're going to be in zero-sum political warfare, then I prefer my side win. I think like Brad Palumbo told Pisco, we should avoid that situation. Pisco
answer
like to
the question.
I did.
So the question is clear. No.
I did answer the question.
The question is
what I don't have to do is
hang on a second
in the way you would like.
Hang on a second.
If you want me, Pisco,
let me explain.
If you want me, Pisco, to give you a chance to talk, then you probably shouldn't interrupt me when I'm responding to a question. So if you want that courtesy, you should extend that courtesy, Pisco. The thing that bothers you the most about this debate at the end of the day is I just did to you what you typically do. I just did your tactics tonight, Pisco. I said, you know what? This guy deserved
so on your view, you were
bad. Go in a little bit aggro tonight.
So you admit on your view, you were intentionally bad faith?
Are your tactics typically bad faith?
No, that's what you think.
I just said that I used your tactics.
I'm saying.
Are your tactics typically bad faith?
That's what you think. That's what. No,
are your tactics typically bad faith?
No, I just answered. So you're just asking a question.
We're going in circles.
I think everybody knows.
I'm going to call Ryan. I'm going to call Ryan's attention to the question.
Please call.
The question was, So the question was, you had said that you would be in favor of preemptive Republican court packing if you felt Democrats were serious. You do think Democrats are serious, therefore, aren't you definitionally in favor of preemptive court packing?
I'm hoping to God they're not. I said that you're doing a hell of a good job of
convincing
me. I didn't say that. I said you're doing a hell of a good job of convincing me.
Oh, so you don't think the Democrats' plan is serious?
I don't know. I'm hoping to God it's not. I'm hoping to God it's not, Pisco.
So all of this,
I'm hoping to God it's not. Because, Pisco, I would prefer not to burn the country down preemptively. It would have been really great if you could have said, hell no, that's repugnant. I'm against it. You didn't.
So what
you
what I
certainly
said
did
here
your
convinced
part
you
in
that Democrats are
convincing me
serious?
that this is something you're serious about.
You-
But
you're in a
anyway,
bit of a
we
contradiction
don't
here
need to
because-
relitigate the whole
because you
debate.
said I don't have
We have
any
about-
power before.
We don't need to
Three or
relitigate the
four-
whole debate.
3 or 4
Exactly.
left here. And I appreciate you guys staying after here because we could have maybe wrapped it up a little sooner, but I like that you guys are hanging. John Maria Smith
yeah.
did send a follow-up to his other 20, and he says, I'll say it again with a 20. If Pisco doesn't admit cons are also justified, then it means libs aren't either. He loses. If he does admit that they are justified, then Dems are justified, and he wins the debate, but loses the ideal.
That's just very simplistic. Look at the argument. And if the conditions are met for Republicans, then it would be justified. They're not met. You could try to say, oh, well, Bork, what happened to Bork is, falls into that argument. I just think that that's like obviously false. And we can talk about that some more. But even if that is the case, that doesn't mean that two sides can't both be justified in doing a thing. So it doesn't even it's not even relevant to the ultimate disposition here.
Chatter's 100% right, and Chatter absolutely understands what the actual stakes of this conversation were. Well done.
All right, next 20 was from Leningrad. He said the fact that Pisco is now in favor of a 4-seat expansion, parentheses, and not a lower number in parentheses, is evidence of escalation from the past expansion.
I've always been in favor. So I've been in favor of court expansion since what happened.
One last sentence, and why his stance will only lead to further escalation.
This has been my position. Maybe we haven't had as many debates as we are having about it recently, because thankfully, I do think that there are some Democrats who are starting to get why this is necessary and good. But this has been my position ever since the Merrick Garland thing, since 2016. So yeah, I mean, I have believed this for a long time. It's not like serial and escalating; it's consistent.
Yeah, the escalating part is the 13.
Okay. The amount I've never not been. So I can be in favor of a 2 and a 4. They're not inconsistent. I'm in favor of both. Either would be preferable to the status quo.
Yeah, the issue, Pisco, is that you aren't willing to say that I'm not going to do the thing that is like obviously horrifying, which means that we can't really have a conversation about technicalities. It's like, for example, if I was like,
So 2 is not horrifying. So 2 is not horrifying.
I'm in favor.
2 is not horrifying.
I'm in favor of burning the country down and putting in a monarchy. Then you might say, well, I don't know if I really want to talk to you about that. I don't think that you're operating in a way that makes me want to have rational conversations with you. It seems like I should expose.
Ryan's like, this is why I'm not rational. This is the cope. Ryan's like, this is why I'm not rational. I would be rational with you if you disavowed 4, and I would talk to you about 2.
No, Pisco,
but I'm irrational if you don't disavow 4.
This is why, and I said it in my opening, the point of me coming on here tonight was to
ambush and
expose
sandbag
what you are doing. And I did.
Yeah. Well, so just to be clear, definitionally bad faith.
I mean, you can call it what you can call it. Pisco, you can call it whatever you want. What I wanted to do was expose your grift, and I did.
Wait, grift? So you're saying I'm motivated by money?
I think you're motivated.
Now
by
I know that you
chaos.
I know that you love
baseless.
I don't know. I know that you love baseless accusations. I know you love baseless accusations. I think Josiah of colluding, and now you're accusing me of grifting.
The Republicans, and I think everybody saw it tonight.
You have no shame. You have no shame. You will accuse anyone of anything because you have no shame, and you're a smug asshole. That's why you're doing that.
See, there you go.
2 more that just came in. I'll read one that's Justin O'Dizzle for 20 cents. It says, if Alberta successfully secedes from Canada because it's too Pisco, can we add Alberta as the 51st state?
I have no view on the Alberta matter.
Yeah.
I am against America general absorbing parts of Canada. I want good relations with Canada. In a perfect world, if there was some sort of consensual arrangement with the government of Canada, I don't have a problem in principle with Canada joining America. I think that that's pretty base. But in general, I think that should be consensual, and we should have good relations with the Canadians. Right now, they don't like us.
Quick response, Ryan, so we can get to this next one.
I have no strong position on Alberta.
Fair. Herdock Tornapi sends another 20. Thank you. He says, Pisco's example of a small gamete person giving birth was a person with XY chromosomes having a uterus with no gametes. This is just an exception proving the rule because almost all persons with XY don't have a uterus.
So if you grant that there's at least one person who is not definitionally female who gives birth, and if you take XY chromosomes to be what male is, then I think you're conceding definitionally that it's possible for a male to give birth. I think that there are cases of small gametes producing individual who gave birth. Certainly there is of XY. But yeah, no. I'll follow up on the specific formation there, but certainly the one that a lot of people will point to is, as chromosomes that has been found in nature. If it's not, and by the way, even if it's not true of nature, it doesn't mean that if it happened, it wouldn't be true.
I've never seen the study. I have no real way to comment on it. It seems very, very unlikely, but I need to look at it.
Okay, I think this is the last one here, and it is a third follow-up from John Arias Smith for 20. Thank you, sir, for your support and your engagement. He said also, what I mean by slimy was more like underhanded, like the stuff from Suits. I want that kind of lawyer, the kind Trump would hire. Like Pisco, Ryan seems too honest to be a lawyer I would need if I were hiding money.
Ryan admitted to lying and doing this agreement under false pretenses and trying to ambush me with quotes and stuff. And you're like, he's too honest. Like, what are you talking about?
The people understand my noble purpose.
Yeah,
and my noble spirit.
Your dishonest purpose. Your admittedly dishonest purpose.
Yeah,
I mean, I just don't understand. So you are everything that you claim to be like against in terms of honesty and uprightness.
It's funny how the people who watched it, the neutral audience, seems to have come to the opposite conclusion.
The neutral audience, just like the World War debate neutral audience.
Yeah.
Right. I think there was one last one that I thought was over 20, but I probably read it already. So yeah, I think that we're gonna call it there, guys. These gentlemen have given us plenty of time, and we definitely appreciate it. We just closed out the second poll, so those results will be there. I accidentally
we closed out our poll, and the results are stunning. It's
yeah.
I don't know if you want to hear them.
Who would have thought that your own chat came to that conclusion?
Yes, who would have thought? Yeah.
All righty, guys. You want to give a quick shout out to your channels?
Sure.
Pisco, you can go first.
Find me at Pisco Liddy on Twitter and on YouTube and other places. I really appreciate the debates. I think that it's important, especially in the political climate, to maintain the conversations flowing back and forth. I noticed that there's less debates, and I'd like maybe that'll pick up during the midterms. But yeah, follow me there, and thank you so much for your time.
Yep. Ryan C. Mullally on X and YouTube, Natural Law with Ryan Mullally. You can find me there. It's a mixed channel, so I do debates. Almost, in fact, none of them have been like this one. This had some extenuating circumstances, but you can see me take a very different approach in a bunch of other debates, but also do law coverage, philosophy coverage, American founding philosophy being the specialty. Come check me out. We have a good time.
Awesome. And we do appreciate everybody watching here on Modern Day Debates. We have DebateCon 8 coming up on July 25th and 26th in Dallas. Get your tickets. We have the links in the chat in the description there. And we will be hosting tons of different debates over 2 days. So you guys can get your tickets, and it'll be good for either one day if you want, or you can get the full 2 days. And then the last thing I will say is if you have a membership to our YouTube channel, you'll be able to stream those live if you can't make it. So that's going to be convenient for the people who can't travel thousands of miles to go see people argue in a room, which is very entertaining. You can watch it from your living room. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate everybody again for the 8th time. Smash that like button and check out these guys if you agreed with their arguments.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Good one.